Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is a Wednesday, July 23rd. We're here. We're live. Yes, we're 1 minute late, but we are still live. And today's a big day. Today is a big day. Currently, right now, we have to deal with a variety of different pieces of news that are coming out that we'll be discussing. The biggest one being the Japan trade deal, which is the real reason I think the pre-markets are relatively green. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on in the pre-market in regards to certain stocks that are green. DNUT might be the one that you are looking at that is up about 30%. Sorry, 36%. But the S&P 500 is green. And the reason it's green is because I think we have some level of confirmation. Literally 5 minutes before I went live, 7 minutes before I went live, the White House confirmed exactly what Japan is going to be buying from the United States. We got a little bit of that last night, but today we have some more details. S&P 500 basically at all-time high, 631.20. I think the market likes that we have a trade deal with Japan. If we can get India, South Korea, Canada, Mexico to join the party, I think that'll be very fun. So we will analyze that Japan deal and keep going from there. GoPro is the next big Wall Street bets meme stock. It is up 92% in the pre-markets. It's almost like no one wants to play with Open Door anymore. Open Door is down 10%. It was down 17% yesterday. And this is kind of what happens with some of these names. They fall out of favor. And if they don't have the attention anymore, because there's not anything fundamental rooted in them, and maybe there is, I'm just saying for now, it seems like there's not, at least over the past 48 hours, they get out of favor. No one really cares about them. It's already still 5x from the lows. And then people move on to donuts. Open is old news. That's correct. Or people move on to GoPros, which, it's a great product. I don't know if it's that great of a business, but that's up 93%. Kohl's as well from yesterday. That was up almost 100%. That one is now flat, still holding 14 though, which is, good for people who are holding Kohl's. But outside of that, you do have a lot of the meme stocks getting some more momentum. The big story of the day, though, is Tesla and Google. We will talk a lot more about what's going on with those. Google right here, 190 the pre-markets, Tesla 330. I will be live 3:30 p.m. Eastern with Jose. I think Couch Investor might join us, but if he can't, it'll be me and Jose. And we will have a lot to discuss in the context of what's going on with Tesla and Google. This is going to be a big one. I own both of these names. I've long both of these names. I'm hoping both of them pump. I kind of think both of them pump. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe both dump. I know a lot of people in the chat also own a decent chunk of Google and Tesla. So we'll be discussing that, and we'll keep going from there. On top of that, you have an AI summit going on with President Trump and the All In podcast, and Shyam Sankar from Palantir will be there. Lisa Su from AMD will be there. So there's going to be a lot of people. I don't know if they're going to stream it live or we're going to have to wait till after to get the details, but this is going to be a big day in DC. A lot of the sort of White House officials that are in the AI space have been tweeting about how important this day is going to be. I don't know if they're going to make any new monster announcements, but they're definitely going to highlight how important data infrastructure for compute is. And we're going to talk about some of the announcements we got yesterday from OpenAI, Oracle, and XAI in regards to how much they desperately need to create more compute and energy to be able to advance their AI interests. And it just means that if you're an investor in that sector, and if you're an investor in the broader markets, that sector is going to, I think, define the next decade for the broader markets. And so there's a lot to discuss. And we will try to break down all of that as we get into the show today. Good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's start off with this because we haven't done it in a while. Where are you watching from? Let's put that in the chat. Let's do that for a couple minutes, and then we will get into all of the stuff we've got to analyze. Remember, guys, we're alive today. We are alive. We're live and we're alive. We are actually living on planet Earth. One day, hate to break it to you, we won't be. We're not going to really be here anymore because there's this thing called death that we, for some reason, have to deal with. So the fact that we're here and we're all together in this one moment, people are probably like, did this guy do blow this morning? No, I'm just excited to be awake and alive this morning, and we got a lot to discuss. And it's just another blessed day to be on planet Earth. Spoiler alert. Yes, spoiler alert. Exactly. There's a little bit of a spoiler to this whole life thing, but at least for now, we are all here and we're here together, which is what matters. Marek from the Czech Republic. I love it. That is awesome. It is okay. So I'm going to be ignorant if I say this, but is people from the Czech Republic, are you Czechoslovakian, or there's two? I'm so ignorant to this. So for there's like Slovakia and there's Czech Republic. So you're not Czechoslovakia, but I heard that term before. So someone confirm to me if that's a thing, because if that is, I have something to say about that. Kaboots from Sarasota. I love it. We got Anvish from Hyderabad, India. I love it. Amsterdam, Chicago, Illinois. We got more India. We got Spain. We got Poland. We got California. We got Theo from Germany. We got Nashville. We got Jerry from Malaysia. We got Prague, Amsterdam, San Diego, Bulgaria, South Florida, Canada, Denmark. A lot of Amsterdams. Wow. Not too bad. I'm here from currently right now. I love it. We are all here from currently right now. Seattle, New Zealand, Brooklyn. Admit, why is VG dropping? I have no idea, but we're going to see and try to understand why. Fort Lauderdale, Jamaica. Greetings from Poland. Dublin. I'm not going to make the joke. But I definitely want to go to Dublin one day. That would be very nice to see. We got Huang. I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. From Austin, Indonesia. Love Indonesia. Love my investments that I have in Indonesia. Speaking of grab, dude, we closed over 550 for 2 days in a row for the first time in a year. I mean, I'm just happy that we're keeping some of this price action, so it's not too bad. Deanna from San Jose, I love it. Robin from Hungary. Andrew from Texas. You got Tokyo, Minnesota, Norway, Kansas, Sweden, Earth. That's also a good one. New Hampshire, Phoenix, Oregon, Tallahassee, Long Island, New York, Boston, Philly, Portugal, the Bronx, Arizona, Massachusetts, although I can't say it, but it is what it is. Massachusetts, Malaysia, Arizona, South Carolina, Dublin, Colorado. Just international, dude, all across the world. And I love it. All across the world. Okay, the reason I was asking that Czechoslovakia question is because, like, I heard about they're two separate countries. Yeah, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Okay, I did a little bit of research on these back in high school. We were doing like some exam around Czechoslovakia and like what happened and how two nations were formed. So I was always confused. Like, if you're from the Czech Republic, are you actually Czechoslovakian or how do you call it? But cool. Those are two different countries that are there together. See, this is the cool thing about having an international audience too. You have to learn so much about the world in so many different ways. So many of you guys from Germany have educated me about so many things. Did you guys know hamburgers come from Germany? I thought it came from Texas. I thought it's from freaking Texas. No, it's from freaking Germany. There's a place called Hamburg in Germany. And I did not know that ever. I thought it came from like the south of the United States because I thought it came from barbecues, but no, it came from Hamburg, Germany. So there you go. All right, let's get into it. Thank everybody for being here. Thank everybody for joining internationally across the entire world. We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off with Japan. We got a trade deal in, and it looks like it's pretty strong. Let's get some details, and we'll keep going from there.
Andrew, we don't have a lot of details here from the White House, but we do have a statement that we got overnight from Japanese Prime Minister Ishiba talking about this deal. He says if necessary, he's going to speak with President Trump or meet with him in person, but he's going to review the details of the deal. He said this is going to lead to both countries being able to cooperate and create jobs, produce great products, and fulfill various roles in the international community. And here's the statement that the president put out on Truth Social yesterday, offering what we know of the details of this trade deal so far. The president saying, we just completed a massive deal with Japan, perhaps the largest deal ever made. Japan will invest, at my direction, $550 billion into the United States, which will receive 90% of the profits. Put a pin on that for a second. This deal will create hundreds of thousands of jobs. There's never been anything like it. Perhaps most importantly, Japan will open their country to trade, including cars and trucks, rice, and certain other agricultural products and other things. Japan will pay reciprocal tariffs to the United States of 15%. This is a very exciting time for the U.S. of A.
So $550 billion and 15% tariffs. That was the big headline from Trump yesterday. And today we got some more confirmation on that. So, and I think the markets like what we got. So a couple of elements to this. So Lutnick just said right now the 15% tariff is right on the edge for producing cars in Japan. Japan is a massive auto producer. A White House official also said that Japan is going to hike defense spending from U.S. firms to $17 billion annually from $14 billion. So there's a $3 billion increase. And then the White House said Japan's going to be boosting their rice purchases by 75%, buying $8 billion in agricultural and other products. $8 billion in agricultural and other products. So, I mean, it's a deal that the street is starting to think could be a framework for the deals that we're getting across the rest of the market. S&P 500 right here, basically at all-time high, 631.3. Got Robinhood that's up a little bit, Palantir up a little bit, Nvidia that's up a little bit. the Qs that are up. And I think the big thing about this Japan deal is that it is about 8 days away from the August 1st deadline. That August 1st deadline is going to be very important to see if we actually impose those tariffs, like Bessent was saying yesterday, that have like a quote unquote hard deadline, which we all know they don't have a hard deadline, because then he also said we're still open to negotiate even after August 1st. So the question is just, can this be a framework to get a bunch of deals done now in the next like few days? Now, granted, are we going to get any type of meaningful deal across the big countries over the next few days? I don't know. Japan seems to be the biggest. But if we can get the Cambodias of the world to start signing up to some deals, just like we got Indonesia a couple of days ago, that I think would be beneficial. So we've got 8 days. We got major countries. And then Japan was going to get 25% flat tariffs along with South Korea. Trump, remember, he issued that letter to them last Tuesday. That's not happening anymore. So I think over the next 8 days, if the White House can get us some really meaningful deals, that could also end out July in a nice way. Who knows what happens in August? But if we want to have a really good July, got about 2 weeks left, it would be nice to get some of those deals. So that is why I think the market is at least happy in the pre-markets. Obviously, Google and Amazon, or Google and Tesla, are going to make a meaningful attempt to show the trajectory of where earnings are going to go today. And we do have an update on earnings. We have a lot of earnings this morning as well, so we'll talk about that. But that Japan deal is now seemingly set in stone, and it looks like we have done one of the big 7 that we got out of the way. We also, quote unquote, have a deal with China. No one really knows the details about that deal. Bessent did say they're going to be talking with China again pretty soon. So hopefully we get some updates on that for Japan. Amid South Korea likely this Friday. I mean, I would expect, no, to Bessent's credit, he did say yesterday, we're going to get a bunch of new deals like in the next week. We got Japan the day he said that. Maybe after this AI summit, or maybe even today, we start to get some more of these deals and we can see where that goes from there. Cool. So this is what we got right here. Rocket Mortgage also is doing a little bit of a pump. It pumped overnight. It's up 6% right here. It was up 13% last night. This is a company we found out yesterday that is a rate proxy play, but also is 50% short. I could not believe the street is shorting this 50%. That's worse than Open Door, but they are. And this is another name to just kind of keep on your radar in terms of what could happen from either a meme stock perspective, even though I don't think Rocket Mortgage is a meme stock at all. Like, I think it's a fundamental, like, it's a really good business, but it can be treated as a meme stock. DNUT, by the way, 28% short, 28% short on DNUT. And then the other one that we have, GoPro, the short float on that is 10%, which is not as much as DNUT, but it kind of feels like Wall Street Bets is scamming, or not scamming, but maybe scamming. They're scanning all the names that are shorted, and then they're just automatically picking, all right, this one's short, boom, let's take it to the moon. And I think that could happen to a lot of other names if that continues to play out. Bitcoin right here, 118. XRP is down about 5%, and Ethereum 3640. So we are seeing some red candles across crypto right now, but they are still up a decent amount from like basically 2 weeks ago. So there you go. BMNR, those options are open today. So I've been talking about this for the past couple of days now. I've had the just inclination that if BMNR gets options, you're going to start to see a much more juicy trading market. Maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't. The sort of logic for why I think that would happen is that you have more people that can sell calls, sell puts. You have market makers that can sell a lot of calls. In order to cover those calls, they have to eventually buy shares. There's a lot of manipulation that can happen with that. But nonetheless, when you have a lot of people trading calls and puts, which is exactly what happened to MicroStrategy, you have a thriving options market, and people are in the name just for the pure fact that they want to trade it, which, if you're in a real investor, that creates a lot of buying pressure and selling pressure at certain moments, but it does create net buying pressure. And so that one is open as of now. At 9:30 when the market opens, you can literally place an option. I think the strikes they have go up to 55. SBED right here, 2675, that's down about 2.74%. And then BT, that one is also flat on the day, down just a little bit. So there you go. Quote from Lutnick, H20 chip export controls to China will be removed as China supplies U.S. with rare earth magnets. President Trump has decided China can buy H20 chips in a balanced way. Well, there you go. Looks like they told Jensen that a week ago before he went to China. And that's when NVIDIA was able to tell the public that we have absolute confirmation that that we are going to be good on these chips, or to be able to sell these chips. And now the White House is confirming it as well via Howard Lutnick. That's good. That's good news. Good for NVIDIA. I don't think NVIDIA is really going to move on that because the market already knows that was going to be the case. Where is NVIDIA right here? NVIDIA, yeah, it's up 1%. We already cracked 4 trillion. We got to 174 at one point, but it is nice to see confirmation now that we are selling into China. And quite frankly, it kind of feels like, this is part of being an NVIDIA investor all year. It kind of felt like around May, when NVIDIA was finally starting to get back into like the 115s, 120s, that it was obvious if there was any deal to happen with China after we went through the whole April debacle of tariffs, that deal would include chips. Because there's no way we would be able to get any meaningful concession like rare earth minerals, which is one of the things that we need to survive as a country, unless we gave China what they wanted. And in this case, we weren't going to give them black belt, but all they wanted was H20s. And it looks like we gave them some H20s, which is good for NVIDIA shareholders and obviously good for the broader technology stack of the United States. Apple right here, 215. That is a little green. TLT, that is down a little bit. The 10-year creeping up. MicroStrategy, that one's flat. Palo Alto, 197. Uber, 92.52. Roblox, 117. The Qs, again, a little green this morning. VIX is down. VIX is still below 20. Then you got Cisco right here, 68.16. Tesla at 331 is what we have right now. Is Broadcom down? AVGO, let's see. That one hit all-time highs on Friday. Yeah, it's basically at it's 290s all-time high, but 275 still doing very well, down about 1.29% from where it was a couple of weeks ago. Yes, we did look at NEO the other day. I don't know why that one's pumping. Maybe that one's going to be a candidate for Wall Street Bets. NEO is actually like a real company. Like maybe their growth is not the most impressive or stuff, but like, they're like a legit company. They sell cars in China. It's obviously a competitive ecosystem, but I've always thought this could be a Wall Street Bets candidate just because there's so much volume in this name. And just so many people know about it from 2021. But this one right here is up 4%. I don't know why VG is down. That 3% is definitely a bit of a move. I don't think that's just profit taking. There might be something else going on. Oil prices have continued to fall. Oil prices again, wow, below 65. Look at that on WTI. Brent right there, just above 68. Maybe you could blame it on oil prices, but it might seem like there could be something else going on in regards to oil. Okay, let's talk about earnings before we get into Tesla and Google, because we do have a bunch of updates on earnings. First of all, let's just look at the earnings we had this morning, and then I want to show you guys an aggregate summary of what's been going on with earnings. Shout out to Evan. He made this great summary tweet. AT&T beat on the top and the bottom. EPS 54 versus 52. Revenue 30.8 versus 30.5. GE Vernova beat on the top and the bottom. 186 versus 154. EPS 9.1 versus 8.8 on revenue. NextEra beat on the top, slightly missed on the bottom. Actually, not slightly. They did miss on the bottom. 105 versus 101 on EPS. 6.7 versus 7.4 on revenue. Moody's beat on the top and the bottom. Pfizer beat on the top and the bottom. Thermo Fisher beat on the top and the bottom. Bottom Scientific beat on the top and the bottom. Hilton Hotels beat on the top and the bottom. CME Group beat on the top and the bottom. Amphenol beat on the top and the bottom. General Dynamics beat on the top and the bottom. Freeport beat on the top and the bottom. Hasbro beat on revenue and came in line with EPS. So the only one that missed out of all these earnings is NextEra. Let's look at their stock real quick. We'll look at the rest of the stocks. And NextEra is up 0.5%. Now, why does this matter? All those companies that beat on the top and the bottom are consistent with this chart that Tom Lee, Fundstrat Research, put out this morning. Take a look at this. Take a look at this. So 19% of the S&P 500 companies have already reported, 97 out of 50. 85% of those companies have beat consensus earnings. 7.6% of them have surprised on average in terms of what those earnings have looked like. 100% of tech companies have beat. 88% of industrial companies have beat. 90% of financials have beat. 100% of real estate has beat, which has been nice to see because the housing market has been rather frozen. 60% on energy, that's been the lowest. 86% on healthcare, 78% on consumer staples. Utilities haven't reported yet. And then 81% on defensives and 87% on cyclicals have beat. 33% of basic materials, that's done the worst. 100% on communication and 73% of consumer discretionary have beat. I mean, it's almost exactly like we're seeing in Q1, right? Where I think the number at the end was like 78% of all companies after all 500 had reported had beat. Now, granted, maybe the beats are not gigantic, and maybe, the beats are not like, oh my goodness, they're beating by like 50 billion or something. But like the point is they're beating, and the expectations when it comes to the markets are, can you beat what the street thinks you're going to do? Like, so Robinhood, they had 890 expectations. Now they have 913. Robinhood's got to beat 913, and that's just the game. It's a ruthless game, quite frankly, because if Robinhood has 912, is that a bad quarter? No. But if the analysts want 913, guess what goes across every single Bloomberg terminal and notification across the world at 4:05 p.m. July 30th when they report? The headline is Robinhood misses earnings. So like being a public CEO, it's like you either win or you don't. And you got to get that extra point, whatever, to be able to be. We saw this with Amazon. Amazon had 17.4% growth versus 17.6% AWS growth last quarter. Stock fell to 180 before it rebounded. And it stayed at 180 for almost like 20 minutes before it finally got a rebound. So the fact that these companies are beating, I think, is what matters. And on aggregate, we're seeing these companies beat. If that can continue into Tesla, Google, Amazon, Apple, etc., then that's going to be very important. That's going to be very important. Are tariffs included or excluded? So this quarter was the first quarter, Q2, where we had tariffs. So the fact that these companies are beating to me means it's a good thing because they're beating with tariffs. Now, these companies don't matter as much. What really matters is the Walmart, the Home Depot, the Lowe's, et cetera. And those don't report for like another 2 weeks. So those are going to be the real names that are going to tell us, hey, how much is the consumer being hurt when it comes to tariffs? But the fact that a Levi's can come out and say we have no issues with demand, we have no impact on tariffs. Delta can say we have no issues on tariffs. It is positive. It is positive to see that there's not that big of an issue. Now, speaking of tariffs, Scott Bessent this morning said that the Amazon CEO Andy Jassy told him last week that he sees no price hikes across Amazon. Wall Street Journal reported that Amazon has reportedly raised prices of inexpensive goods on its marketplace by more than 5% in 2025. Not the craziest price hike, but Bessent is saying, hey, there's not that many price hikes. So Amazon earnings as well will be indicative, at least in the retail sector, of how much there was pressure on consumers. But then again, do we expect that much pressure on consumers when retail sales beat by 0.5%, 0.6 versus 0.1 2 weeks ago? Like, I mean, how much pressure is there if consumers are still spending? And, based on the labor market data, if we've had decent job growth, it does mean that they have some capital to be able to spend at the end of the day on these products. Okay, Fiserv is down 15%. I don't know why. For any of these names that are getting hit really bad, even though they beat on the top and the bottom, that's likely because of guidance or something they said in the specifics of their earnings. But I mean, it was a decent beat, 5.5 billion versus 5.2, and then 247 versus 243. I don't know why it deserves to be down 15%, but it is. Moody's, that one is down 1%. AT&T, that one is down 4%. So a lot of these names not really getting love from the street, even though they beat. GE Veranova, is that one red? That one is up 7%. That one getting some momentum. And then Hilton, I know Bill Ackman is a big shareholder in this one. That one's down about 2%. That one's down 2%. All right. So not so bad. Enphase has taken a 2% hit to margins from tariffs and expects that to rise to 3 to 5%. Okay, so I did not go deep into Enphase earnings yesterday. However, the tariff stuff being a headwind for them makes sense. They're down 4%. They did pump 7% as soon as the market closed their initial results, but then it's almost like the market realized, hey, this is not that good. And so that one is down 5% right here. I think everyone expected them to have some weakness, not only from tariffs, but from the big, beautiful bill eliminating the solar subsidies. So that one is red. And then Tesla right here, 331. The other companies that had earnings yesterday, SAP, that's down about 4%. That was actually up a little bit. Capital One, that was up 4%. That one is still up 4%. And the other big one yesterday, GoPro, by the way, up 75% right here, was Intuitive Surgical, which is actually up 1%. They had some pretty decent earnings, 1.6% in the pre-markets. I think we got a Trump tweet. Do we have a Trump tweet? Let's see. We do. All right, here you go. Housing in our country is lagging because Jerome Too Late Powell refuses to lower interest rates. Families are being hurt because interest rates are too high, and even our country is having to pay a higher rate than it should because of too late. Our rates should be 3 points lower than they are, saving us $1 trillion per year. The stubborn guy at the Fed just doesn't get it, never did, and never will. The board should act, but they don't have the courage to do so. Trump is being kind of weird about this because every time in the media he is publicly asked about if he would fire Jay Powell or if he wants him to resign, he says no to both. He doesn't say he's going to fire him. And then yesterday he was point blank asked, should he resign? And Trump was like, well, his term's going to be over anyway, so he'll leave soon. But then on Twitter, talk about Twitter fingers. Then on Twitter, he goes out and says, this guy should resign. He's horrible. But in public, when the cameras are on him, it's kind of like he knows that if he actually were to kick Jay Powell off, and this would become a pseudo little banana republic if the dictator gets rid of the chair of the Fed. Like, he knows the markets wouldn't like that. By the way, the markets took an intraday dip of like almost 1% on the NASDAQ and the S&P when a fake letter was going around yesterday that people were claiming to say Powell signed, which I don't even think anyone used AI to make this letter. I mean, this was such a fake letter. It was so obvious this was fake. If you even look at the seal, The seal is fake. Like, so it's just like, but the S&P fell based on this, and then the markets quickly realized this is full of shit, and they moved on. But I think even Trump knows if he were to actually fire Jay Powell, this would not go well. This would not go well. So, like, he can talk all he wants about Jay Powell being fired. He knows, and Bessent knows. There was a great article the other day from Wall Street Journal reporting that Bessent, talked Trump off the edge. And when Fox News confronted him about it, Bessent kind of said, well, we had conversations and we just came to the conclusion that his term is going to be ending soon. Because even Bessent knows, no, like, you can't just fire the guy. Like, as much as you don't like him, firing him is not going to be the right way to get the market to have any confidence in the independence of fiscal and monetary policy. Not to mention, Trump appointed Jay Powell. Now, again, obviously he's not a fan of him anymore based on what he's doing with rates. And by the way, I believe Jay Powell should be cutting. I think 25 bips is not going to hurt the economy or massively create inflation. I do think Jay Powell is being weird about not cutting. However, you can't fire the guy. Like, that's just like, the perception wise, the market would be weirded out more than if they had to wait another couple months for their rate cut. But it does seem like in September, the pressure is on enough to get Jay Powell to believe that we're going to get a rate cut. And if we're going to get these deals with Japan and not tariff them 25%, then yeah, if more of those deals go through over the next 6 weeks, then I think Jay Powell has no choice but to say we should be getting a cut. 58% now is the probability for September. 58% is now the probability. The worst part about this is, like, I thought Powell did an incredible job in 2024. Like, he got oil prices down, he got the stock market to be at all-time highs, and he got inflation down from like 10.4 to 2.7, which is currently where it's at right now. And it's like the dude is supposed to go down as like one of the best Fed chairs, and then all of this stuff has happened. And quite frankly, it's Powell's fault to some extent for being so obsessed with tariffs, but it's also Trump's fault. I said this back in February. I said, hey, if Trump just let Powell cut rates and then in the summer focus on tariffs, I mean, what is Jay Powell? He's going to hike? No, he probably wasn't going to hike. So if he just waited 5 months and let Jay Powell naturally cut rates without any tariff expectations, and then in the summer say, all right, we're going all in on tariffs, we would have at least got to 4% on the Fed funds, maybe even 3.75 if inflation was really coming down. And then we could do all this tariff stuff. And I doubt, anyone would have voted to hike because you might have not seen any meaningful inflation. But it went the way it went. And now we just got to see how the market interprets where these rate cuts are coming from. Palantir right here in the pre-markets also not doing too bad, 150.70. The dip yesterday was 148 on Palantir, 98.75 on Hood, Tesla 321, S&P 626. And if that was the extent of the dip, then I don't know if that really was a dip, but it just goes to show how unbelievably resilient this market is and how it's just not slowing down. It just does not want to slow down. And speaking of things that are not slowing down, AI momentum. So you had a lot of stuff last night in regards to what's going on with AI. In particular, Elon Musk said something that was very important. First of all, let's just look at this real quick. AI startups have raised $104 billion in the United States in the first half of 2025, nearly matching all that was raised in 2024. So in the first 7 months of the year, AI startups are raising as much money as we raised in the first 12 months of 2024, which is pretty incredible because it means that there is a lot of momentum in regards to technology companies that are getting venture capital, which a lot of that $100 billion that are going into startups are probably going to go into buying GCP, AWS, Azure, or NVIDIA directly. So all the hyperscalers and NVIDIA benefit from that. Then Elon tweeted the XAI goal is to have 50 million in units of H100 equivalent AI compute, but much better power efficiency online within the next 5 years. I mean, dude, that's like the fact that is his goal to have 50 million in units of H100 equivalent. That doesn't mean you're going to get 50 million H100s from NVIDIA, but that does mean you're going to get the equivalent of a lot of compute. Not to mention Sam Altman on Sunday tweeted that we need 100 million GPUs. He said, great job to the team getting 1 million GPUs in our data centers, but now can we 100x that? I mean, it just goes to show how much momentum exists in regards to this AI trade. And we have evidence every single day that it's not slowing down. And then remember that company Oracle disclosed 2 weeks ago that would pay them $30 billion a year starting in fiscal year 2028. I thought it was TikTok. Ended up being OpenAI. OpenAI is paying Oracle $30 billion starting in 3 years, 2028, to build a 4.5 gigawatt data center. It's just not slowing down. It's just not slowing down. And I think the answer there is NVIDIA. So it's very, very, very exciting to see kind of all the momentum that's playing out. and how this is happening. And again, the main beneficiary of this, like I said yesterday, is a Palantir. The whole point of building out these data centers and these GPUs is to have better models, more advanced models, to one point get to sentient AI. And from Palantir's perspective, if they can integrate all of that AI inside of the enterprise, inside of the government, I mean, you're going to get a lot more momentum for their growth. So when people say, you know, can Palantir really grow 40% for the next 10 years? I don't know the answers to that, but I think there is a chance if you think, oh, this AI build out is not slowing down anytime soon. And if it's not, the beneficiary of that are the Groks, right? The LLMs, the companies that incorporate the LLMs inside of enterprises. The LLMs love being hooked up with Palantir's AIP because that means they get more API calls from all these enterprises that are potentially using Grok more than a ChatGPT inside of a Palantir AIP. And that obviously is one of the main beneficiaries that can play out. Speaking of Palantir, this I saw yesterday, which was a bit wild. So U.S. Nuclear Weapons Agency breached in Microsoft SharePoint hack. The TLDR on this is that Microsoft discovered a SharePoint vulnerability at a hacking competition in May. The patch meant to fix the issue didn't work. And the U.S. nuclear weapons program, which apparently was governed to some extent by Microsoft in terms of the software that was used to protect it. I don't know all the nuances of it, but it's intertwined with the weapon stack that we have in terms of nukes. That was compromised in the month of July, and Microsoft had to put this out to everybody to let them know, like legally, hey, we've got some issues going on with our nukes. This is scary, bro. This is scary. You had Chad right here comment, what is going on? And then I said, hey, is there any other company out there that can like make sure this doesn't happen to our nukes? You know, make sure that we don't have these types of issues. Now, Palantir does have a $90 million deal for those that have kept track of some of these OG deals with the NNSA, the National Nuclear Security Administration. I don't know if that exactly means that we are working with the nukes. It was a $90 million contract that we got, I think, back in 2022 for a 5-year deal. But I think it has to do with, you know, nuclear safety in general for the United States. Microsoft seems to be more intimately intertwined with the nuclear weapons, and the fact that they're saying there's a breach there that China, by the way, if you go through the article, is involved in, that's not a good thing, bro. That's not a good thing. So A, this puts the emphasis on cybersecurity. I mean, that is something that is not going to be slowing down either. CrowdStrike right here up a little bit. But B, you need software that works. In the case of Palantir, software that dominates. And I think that demand is going to be out there, and it is going to be Palantir's market to potentially take if that contract goes up for sale, if the United States is looking for different vendors. And we're, you know, I don't think it's a crazy stretch to say it. You know, I don't know all the nuances of those contracts, but the reason Rocket Lab has got a bid to the tune of 40% in the past month is because the United States government, the DoD, has been thinking, hey, can we diversify from SpaceX? Because we can't just be relying on SpaceX. By the way, the headline on Rocket Lab that I missed talking about yesterday on the close is that they got, or no, I think I did bring up the Reuters article. They are now in the running to be one of 2 major candidates to be part of the launch vehicle for the Golden Dome. So that is another reason why it got a little bit of a bid yesterday, even though it was still down 4%. It was down 7% at one point, then it recovered that 3% right here, 47.91 in the pre-markets. I mean, you're going to have a lot more diversification across the sector. You shouldn't secure your most sensitive things with a tool called SharePoint. Yeah, I would I would agree. I mean, like, and for people that say, oh, Palantir can never get that type of deal, I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? If shit doesn't work and we're compromised on something like nuclear weapons because Microsoft couldn't identify a hack. This is freaking Microsoft, $3.3 trillion company. I mean, you might have some people in the United States say, hey, maybe can someone else see if they can make sure this never happens? And if so, you know, that can obviously be a massive opportunity for a lot of other companies, Palantir being one of them. Palantir right here, 150.6 in the pre-markets, Tesla 331. Then you got NVIDIA right here, 169. We have about 9 minutes until this market opens. Tesla and Google, that is the big thing that we are looking at today. And that is going to be one that ultimately tells us where the state of the market is going. So let's pull up a little bit of coverage on Tessie and Google. My thoughts again are that they are going to pump both of them. Kind of think sentiment kind of sucks on both, and I think they'll do okay. But if not, then it is what it is, and hopefully dip. Before I show some of this coverage, one thing on Google, I saw this last night, couldn't believe it, but it's real. Someone bought $20 million worth of Google 210 calls expiring in September. $20 million of 210 calls expiring in September. So they're expecting a pretty gigantic move, a move above 210 in less than 3 months. I mean, I'm bullish Google. I don't know if I'm that bullish Google. I mean, they're expecting, 225-ish, 230 by then. I think it's definitely possible. I wouldn't expect it right after earnings. They're giving themselves a little bit of time into September. But that theta will start kicking pretty heavily by early August. And so this is going to need to make its move after earnings for it to eventually get into the money. So, I mean, hopefully this works. Sometimes I've seen these types of option flows and it just goes the wrong direction. Sometimes it's people hedging. I mean, if it is just straight up, hey, I'm buying Google because I think it's going to go up, then hopefully tonight we are going to see some of that momentum today, and a lot of Google shareholders will be rewarded. Here's some coverage on Tesla, and then we will keep going from there.
A little bit, looking for how's it going? What's his expectations? This is where a lot of people are betting on the future of the company here, and these few little robots that are out there in the world.
That's going to be important in part because the company is kind of going through a transition period. Elon Musk is back at work. They've moved out some of their executives. In the last quarter, they actually reported a 20% drop in the auto revenue. And that was something that people were kind of focusing. So how much of this is going to be on the present, what they're seeing with their absolute issues in terms of car sales? How much of it is that future component, Tim?
Yeah, clearly the car business is hugely important for the now. But today's call with analysts after the results drop is really going to be a vibe check, right? How is Elon Musk doing? How's his tone? Is he excited? Investors looking for kind of that growth story, the return to a growth story, which you're not seeing in the delivery results for the cars. They're betting that the future of the company is going to be in robots. And so we're in this really weird period, and hence they're looking for things like, is he excited again, or is he, is he upset?
I 100% agree. This earnings is not about the numbers. These are the expected numbers. 22.7 billion down 11% year over year. EPS 39 cents down 25% year over year. Deliveries 384. We already got those deliveries. The implied move is about 8%. This is an earnings call about vibes. It's about vibes. It's about, hey, is Elon excited? Does he sound interested? Does he sound bored? Can he inspire the masses to say that to feel that if they sell their stock, it would be the worst decision that they would regret 10 years from now, right? Can he do that? And I don't know if he can. I think based on his recent tweets, which have been more about Tesla, SpaceX, and Neuralink, not about politics, that there is a shot that Elon sounds excited. I also think that if the company is in the inflection point of beginning to scale robotaxis, he should be excited, right? Because the robotaxi launch was pretty successful in Austin, and it looks like that's going to be expanding to Phoenix and the Bay Area hopefully soon. Then I would imagine Elon is excited. One thing to note, though, if you bought shares at $400 billion on SpaceX, there was a term inside of the tender offer that people saw last night, because the memos began coming out for people that actually made the investment in the secondary markets. And the term in the fine print included that investors have to accept the risk of Elon Musk returning to politics again. That's how you can essentially summarize the legal jargon that they put out there. So if you did buy SpaceX, you got hit with a term that said Elon Musk could go into politics, and you should be okay with buying the company at the $400 billion valuation, the new valuation, which is up from $350 billion, with the understanding that Elon may embrace a political future. Now, that doesn't mean he's guaranteed to do that, but it's good that, the company is warning investors that, hey, if this happens, you can't sue us or anything. So that is the one risk that is still there. Does Elon wake up in 2 weeks and say, hey, I want to go back to the American Party? Because he hasn't talked about it in 2 weeks. And I think that's also helped Tesla go from 288 to 330. But obviously that could be, a risk that plays out. Did we get another Trump tweet? We did get another Trump tweet. It is there right here. Indonesia has also agreed for the first time ever to completely open its markets to the USA. That's big. Our businesses will make a fortune. Likewise for Japan. All right. Well, markets loved it. I mean, opening up business to the United States, if that is the way it's going to go in Japan, South Korea, Indonesia, Australia, etc., we still have a lot more deals that hopefully we can get done. But I do think we are up in the pre-markets. Maybe we dump at the open. S&P's literally all-time highs, just hit all-time highs, 631.56, because of this Japan deal. So hopefully we're able to keep it up. Are Tesla and Open fundamentally different? I would think there's a little bit of a difference between the two. I mean, like I think there are some nuances to the Tesla thesis and the Open Door thesis. By the way, Open Door down 12%. I mean, look, if you're still in Open Door, you got to hope that it pumps, right? Especially if you bought in above 250. If you bought in at 50 cents, then I guess you can see how it plays out. I do think, though, if G Pro is up 72% and DNUT is up 42%, by the way, is Crocs up? Because ironically, Crocs is not up. Crocs and Krispy Kreme formed a partnership today, as you can see right there. Krispy Kreme and Crocs are teaming up for a limited edition classic clog drop on August 5th, inspired by original glazed donuts, and the clogs feature swappable chocolate and strawberry icing caps, and they come in a donut box. So I thought maybe Crocs would get some benefit from that, but it's not. Yeah, I mean, look, I think people are leaving Open Door to play with other stocks. That's what I feel like it's happening. And, people are not leaving Tesla. I mean, people have left Tesla, but the cult of Tesla, the reason this thing is worth $1 trillion and it's not growing is because there is a real cult. Open Door has like a pseudo cult. Like until Open Door actually gets above 10 and holds 10 for a long time, I don't think there's a cult. I think there's just people that are bored. Tesla has held $1 trillion for a while because people believe in Elon. And so I think that was the difference. By the way, Eric Jackson, that dude who's pumping this thing, he was on Fox Business yesterday and he said he sold some of Open Door for one of his clients. He said he had a fiduciary duty to listen to his client when they told him to sell some at $4.90. I mean, look, it is what it is. He had a fiduciary duty, but just know that the guy who's pumping it has taken profits. And by the way, people say, oh, well, he didn't sell his personally. Well, he manages the guy's account and he gets paid either a percentage of AUM or he gets paid a fee to perform. So whether or not he sold for him from his personal account, he sold and he benefited because the account that he manages, that he directly benefits from, if that account does well, he took liquidity from Open Door to make sure that account outperformed, right? Because they got to sell at literally at the top. He said we sold 120% higher, which is around that 490 price. So I mean, if the fund manager is trying to convince everyone on Twitter to buy Open Door, but then he can't convince his own client that trusts him with his money to hold on till 82, what type of freaking fund manager? I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm just like, you can convince all these people on Twitter that think they're going to get rich because the thing's going 82, but you can't convince your fund. Maybe it's because the people that are investing in you actually want to take profits and they're not in some fever dream that this thing's going to 82. And maybe that's why you had a fiduciary duty to sell, even though you're telling everyone else to buy. So I don't know. But that's what we got going on. Wednesday, July 23rd, 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everybody, for being here. This stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Open Door opens down 12%. 12% on the day. DNUT up 33%. DNUT up 33% as Open Door is down 12%. It looks like people are rotating into some of these other names. Rocket Mortgage up 5%. That one, again, been getting a lot of momentum. That one is starting to get some excitement on Wall Street bets as well. Rate cut proxy, that one is up 4%. Grab 546. That one's down about 1/3%. Again, this is the first time since I think almost 2022 that we closed 2 days in a row above 550. Right now at 546. It looks like it's holding the 540s nicely. If it jumps back down to 525, 530, I'll be buying again. But it is nice to see some of this momentum on Grab. We do have earnings on Wednesday, July 30th. Block is up about 0.5%. BMNR options are introduced. That one is up 1%. Webull crosses 17. Webull, the ticker symbol is bull. I mean, who knows? Maybe that one becomes the next Wall Street bets move. So you got Webull at 17. You got Rocket Mortgage. That one's losing some of its pump. It's now up 3%. It was up 5%. Chegg is down 4%. Kohl's is down 2.6%. Tessie 330. That's down 0.5%. CrowdStrike's down 2%. Coinbase is down 2%. Gold is down. Silver's up. Silver could go red very soon, though. It's barely up. Dave, that one, FinTech, that is up. It was down 10% last week, so that one's recovering a little bit. Duolingo, that's slightly up. Archer is up 2%. Joby's up 3.3%. Where is Palantir? Palantir, 149.68. That is red from the pre-markets, but it is green overall. Robinhood, are we holding 102? 101. 101 on Hoodie. That one continues to go red. How about NVIDIA? NVIDIA 169. All right, that's up 1.4. So NVIDIA's holding up. which is not too bad. ASTS, that was down yesterday. That is up today, 58.21. That did hit 60 last week. Yeti, this is a name that Dumb Money, Chris Camille, and those guys have mentioned that they're excited about. They do backpacks and outdoor gear and water bottles. Some of you guys probably own these water bottles. I've never owned a Yeti brand, but apparently Chris Camille said on TikTok, like it's the next big social arbitrage play because so many people are talking about it. So that is a company they are deep into now. Ticker symbol YETI. AMD 157. That's green with NVIDIA. Where is Google? That's up 2%. Google is holding 190.9, basically flat. But Google holding 190 is very nice to see. Texas. Okay, so Texas Instruments, I still don't know why it got hit that bad. I think it has to be something about guidance. They beat on the top and the bottom. I'm pretty sure they didn't guide the best, and they might have cited tariffs as the reason, kind of like an ASML situation. Texas Instruments in the semiconductor ecosystem, that one's down 10% on earnings. ASML is actually recovering a little bit, up 2%. That's still down about 15% from the highs. Webull 1720, that's trying to break out from 17. It almost hit 18 last night. It did hit 18 in the pre-market, so that one's trying to get a move. Grab right here, 549. Apple 214, Meta 707, Microsoft 503. Microsoft is going red probably from that nuclear hack article that came out after hours yesterday. UNH is green. By the way, there's a new fund called UNHG. It is leveraged 2x to UNH. Leverage 2x to UNH. So for those that want to get super levered into a deep value play, which again, if the stock doesn't move, the leverage play has a net asset value that erodes. So you always have to, it's not just UNH goes up, then UNHG goes up. UNH has to go up soon in order for UNHG to be moving with it. Otherwise, if it's flat for a long time, which UNH could be flat for a long time, then this one will erode. But there is a new product to double down on UNH. Fiserv, I don't know why it's tanking that bad, but 20%, there's got to be something that they said. I'll try to get some details on why it's that bad. Fiserv expects Clover's payment volume to grow 9% year over year in 2025 or 11% year over year when including a one-off impact. Okay, so it looks like the street expected a lot more year over year growth. And on their Clover payments, that did not work out based on a one-time charge, which shouldn't be like the worst thing in the world for Fiverr or Fiserv. But that one is down 20%. Open Door is dumping. I'll try to get some more details on that in a bit. Open Door is, wow, 19% down, folks. 19% down. Yeah, I guess people are playing in other names. Marathon, that's down 10%. Why is Marathon tanking? Is that because Bitcoin? Where is Bitcoin? Bitcoin 117. That's 10% on Marathon, though. That seems like a Marathon. That's not a Bitcoin thing. It doesn't move that beta to Bitcoin. Another Trump post. Do we have something from Trump? Okay, let's see. Why is Hood still dumping 3 days in a row? I mean, remember, Hood, it's 3x in the past 3 months. You're going to have people take some profits, especially if we get a little risk off. I think that's healthy. It's annoying, yes, but ultimately, if they deliver good earnings, I think they're going to be okay towards the end of the year. Trump said, I will always give up tariff points if I can get major countries to open their markets to the USA. Another great power of tariffs. Without them, it would be impossible to get countries to open up. Always zero tariffs to America. All right, so Trump is telling us his negotiation strategy right there. Basically saying, hey, I'm willing. And that's a message to the 30 countries that haven't budged from the August 1st deadline. He's basically saying, hey, I know I said I would tariff Cambodia by 35%, but I'm willing to do like 15% if they open up to the United States. Tesla right here, 333. Tesla's going green. Rocket Company's losing its entire pump from 19 to 16. Block also going red. Bitmine going red, even though they opened up options today. All the energy stocks are up because of a headline yesterday about megawatt capacity for the electric grid. So TLN, CEG, VRT, VST, all the data center companies, they're all up based on some of the record capacities that were introduced yesterday based on an aggregate study of all of the grids we have in the United States, which means there's a lot of demand for energy and that demand is growing. So a lot of the data center infrastructure plays are getting some momentum. UNHG right there up 1.3%. Where's Oracle? That was down 2% yesterday. Oracle's back at 240. Oracle's back at 240. G Pro is up 50%. It's down from 270. It's down 70 cents, but it's up 50%. No options on BM&R. So on Robinhood, I do have options. I checked this morning. Let me see if it's still there. It might not be in every brokerage. Yeah, it's there for me. I can buy a call up to August 15th, September, November, and February 2026. They're probably opening up a lot more of the chain, but the calls and the puts are open for me. What else do we have? Okay, so G Pro, that's up a little bit. Oracle, that's up 1.3. Marathon still tanking. Is the other Bitcoin miners tanking? CleanSpark, that's tanking 3%. Not as bad as Marathon. Hut 8 mining, that's down 2%. And then Riot, that's down 3%. Okay. So those are all down. Cruise lines, are those moving? CCL. Wow, that's green. I don't think there was a cruise line earnings today. NCLH, that is also green. And then RCL is green. So all the cruise lines moving in tandem. There may be a headline in general if there's not earnings on them. What about HIMS? That one was up at 50 yesterday. That's at 51. All right. That's trying to break out. They have earnings August 4th. And then Rocket Lab trying to get back to the 50s. There you go. 48.75 up 4%. Holding some of these levels. Also, dude, speaking of Oscar, some analysts from Jefferies, dude, the analysts really hate this stock. And I don't understand why. They downgraded this thing. They already had it at $9. They downgraded it to $8. And they in the report, they said, guidance appears very aggressive. We expect another 200 BIP hit to MLR, to their medical loss ratios. And that should decrease their margins. And they're kind of citing CNC and ELV and their guidance that they gave out, or lack of guidance they gave out, as a reason for why you really should be skeptical of Oscar's numbers. Oscar right here is slightly down 1.9% in the open. So that's weird, dude. I mean, if you believe in the analyst report, it's not too weird. But the fact that they are just that aggressive on this name, I mean, I've seen multiple $9 to $10 reports. This is the first $8 target I've seen today. It seems like they are not a fan of this one. ASTS right here, 59.19. That's trying to go back to 60. That's trying to go back to 60. Nike's up 4%. All right. Nike has made a monster move. I wished I picked Nike in my ETF portfolio. I ended up not picking it, but 62 to 76. It's one of the best years it's had in almost 5 years. And it looks like it's holding some of this momentum. Nike right here, up about 1%. Open Door, are we still tanking 20%? Are we still doing it? Yes, we are. 21% on Open Door. 21%. The market giveth, the market taketh. There you go. There you go. GEV, yes, that was up 7%. That one's still holding on. Wow, 12%. GE Veranova. Look at that. $168 billion market cap. Bitcoin trying to get back above 50. But this one getting some love. Royal Caribbean's up 1.3. Norwegian's up 2.5. Where's all the semis today? Let's take a look at that. Let's see how they're doing. We know Nvidia and AMD are kind of leading the charge right here. Yeah, pretty green. Intel's down, Lam is down, Qualcomm's down, TSM's up, Marvell's up, ARM's up, SMCI's up 2, Nvidia's up, AMD's up. Nvidia back to 170, baby. There you go. Back to 170. And then Micron at 109. Micron at 109. QBTS, all right, so that took a little bit of a hit yesterday. That one's pumping back up to 1889. That's up 7%. What about Big Bear and SoundHound? BBAI, that's up 2.3, and then SoundHound, that is up 2.06. Rocket Mortgage, that was up at almost 20. That is now 1648. So still up 3%, but down from the pre-markets. Shout out to Jose. We got Tesla and Google today. It'll be a big one. It'll be a big one. Tesla and the Googs. And we're going to see what they end up showing. Grab right here at 550. We get a good earnings. I think she can have some moves. But there's definitely people that are buying it before earnings or before next week because they're expecting something. And I'll tell you, if they raise EBITDA guidance from 460 to 480 to 480 to 510 or 500, I think that's really important. Now, I don't think they're going to do that because they tend to leave Q2 flat and then raise it in Q3. But if they do give us an EBITDA raise, that really can change a lot of the estimates. And so that's what I would be looking for. But even if they don't, I think it'll be a good quarter regardless. And you got Grab right there at 550. Carnival, 30.59. Oracle, 240. GoPro still up 54%. Where is Meta? That's at 708. Amazon is at 229. And then Googs, I think, is still holding 190. 190.3 as we get into it. What's your take on Tesla earnings? I think it's going to, I like my take on the stock is I think it pumps. I think there's enough negative sentiment. I think everyone knows the numbers suck. I think deliveries weren't as bad as what people thought it was going to be. And I think Elon, after the launch of Robotaxi, is going to get people to realize that this is the name that will dominate when it comes to autonomy. And if he can put up a good performance, I think the stock pumps, but I don't really care if the stock pumps. I mean, my target is 350 for today if they have a really good move. If they don't, then it goes back to 330, whatever. If it dumps to 280, I really wouldn't care. I would buy more. I have calls on it for the end of the month at around 380. So if it dumps, I'll just roll those calls down. So I don't know. I'm not expecting a massive move. And if it does pump to 380, 390, I think it would be irrational because they don't have the earnings to justify that. So I really don't think anyone should expect them to pump to 400 because that would be fake. Like they do not have the earnings to say the stock should be worth 1.4 trillion. The question is just, how much excitement can Elon instill in people? 331 right here on Tesla. That one's basically flat on the day. Goldman Sachs and BNY are set to announce that they've created the ability for institutional investors to purchase tokenized money market funds. Okay, so I saw this headline in the morning. This is a super bullish headline for the entire tokenization industry. It's not bearish HOOD. It's not bearish Coinbase. It is bullish tokenized assets. So Robinhood will eventually introduce tokenized money market funds. Coinbase will introduce tokenized T-bills. Like you're going to have tokenized everything, tokenized stocks, tokenized real estate, tokenized money market funds. But Goldman Sachs and a lot of these other financial institutions, a large part of their clients that have many, many millions of dollars, they don't want to take risks in the markets. They put their money into something safe, like a money market fund. So if you could, for whatever differentiation the tokenized money market fund offers, pitch to your clients, hey, you can invest in this. Maybe you get even a better yield or a better spread on the yield instead of buying the money market fund itself because it's settled via stablecoin or whatever it may be. That could be very bullish. And that just opens up the broader market for people accepting tokenized assets. So that is actually a really nice headline from Goldman Sachs. And if they're going to seriously pursue it and pitch it to their clients, then that is a big deal for the overall crypto industry. But the fact that they're going to tokenize money market funds, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, that is so unbelievably bullish crypto. And I just think over the next 5 years, having some exposure to the sector, whether it's Circle or HOOD or Coinbase or just the underlying assets, I think is important. Circle right here, 197. That's below 200 for the first time in about a week. And then you have Hoodie. Are we still holding 101? We are holding 101.6. 101.6. Coles got halted. Coles did get halted, up 28%. Wait, Coles was 14 this morning. Am I not wrong? Coles was 14 this morning. This is the right ticker, right? KOSS? No, that's COS. Hold on. What's the ticker for? Oh, KSS. Sorry. It's still down 12% though. It was 14. Okay, down to 12.40. That was like $7. That's like a 50% drop. Where's SoFi? Okay, where's SoFi? It's not, the tokenized stuff is not bearish SoFi at all. Now, SoFi just below 21. I think SoFi eventually will introduce some level of tokenized assets as well because they have crypto coming back to the platform, hopefully by the end of the year. I don't know what would stop SoFi outside of just their lack of execution to build a tokenized platform. If they can execute, there's no legal thing stopping them from offering tokenized stocks. It would be a big endeavor to do, but if they can offer that to their clients and then scale internationally, why couldn't SoFi do that? So I think it's bullish all financial institutions that want to get into tokenized assets over the long term. See, but the thing is, if everyone's getting into it, it's going to be a race to the bottom for margins. And that means first mover advantage is very important. So it's really good that Robinhood is up and running with tokenized assets already in the EU because, once people begin using a product, they're probably not going to switch. And the first to market should have an advantage. Rock Lab right here getting a red candle to 48. It did hit 49.25. Now it's at 48.15. Down a bit. There you go. There's our resident SoFi bull, Tanner, saying damn right they will. So Tanner believes SoFi should get into it as well. EU and China intend to sign climate statement at Beijing summit. Okay, speaking of the EU, Trump's probably not going to sign any climate summit because he doesn't really believe in climate change or anything like that. There was a headline this morning that if no deal by August 1st, the EU is planning 30% tariffs on U.S. goods if no deal by August 1st. So the EU plans 30% tariffs on 117 billion of U.S. goods if a deal isn't reached by August 1st. and the U.S. imposes similar tariffs on EU exports, the measures would merge existing and proposed tariffs hitting the U.S. products like Boeing aircrafts and bourbon, and could take place next month if the U.S. doesn't move ahead. I think the EU is just putting this out to intimidate the United States, just like we intimidate the EU of getting a deal done. So I would imagine that both sides want to get a deal done and not have 30% tariffs, but they just have to do what they have to do today to get this to happen. Okay, the PayPal news. So there was some big PayPal news this morning. Here's what Tanner said about it. Making PayPal and Venmo interoperable is a big enough news to drop. Adding Venmo's users' ability to now pay everywhere with PayPal's accepted is huge. Going externally and partnering with some of the largest payment players in the world is next level. Super bullish on PayPal world. So PayPal came out with this new product or a new ecosystem, I should say, called PayPal World, a global platform connecting the world's largest payment system and digital wallet, starting with interoperability to PayPal and Venmo. I think this is pretty bullish as well. I haven't read too much into it. I saw a little bit of it this morning, but the thing that immediately caught my attention is if I can pay via PayPal and Venmo, I don't know why I haven't been able to do that for years, right? It's so annoying if someone has Venmo or not PayPal and you have to go through all this stuff. If I can just do it through one thing, I mean, that is a really good user experience for someone that uses those products every single day. Alex Chris, CEO of PayPal, said PayPal World is a first-of-its-kind platform ecosystem that will bring together many of the world's largest payment systems and digital wallets on a single platform. It is a testament to the passion of our partners share for an inclusive global digital economy and has the potential to revolutionize cross-border commerce. Now, the stock, I think, made a little bit of a move. Pound back to 150, 76.32. Stock's basically flat. So Chad said they just made their product work how it should sound. Yeah, I mean, dude, I've always wondered like why I have to pay someone on Venmo that I can't pay on PayPal because PayPal owns Venmo. And I'm like, do you have Venmo? They're like, no, I have PayPal. And every time I'm just like, because PayPal's a horrible experience when it comes to payments. Like it just sucks. I'm sorry. I know everyone uses it, but it's because they have to use it. Venmo is actually a really good user experience. And it's super quick and it's fast and it doesn't ask you for like 17 different authentications just to be able to send $5 to someone. PayPal sucks. It's just everyone uses PayPal because they have to. So the fact that they're making it interoperable is good. And now adding all these other countries, I mean, it looks like this should have happened a while ago, but it is happening. Stock's not moving on it though. And the sad thing about PayPal is this has been the biggest value trap of the past 2 years. I mean, in 2023, a lot of people, including myself, felt this thing could get to 100 and it has just been stuck at 70. And realistically in the 60s for the majority of the 2 years. And they don't have a dividend, so you're not really getting paid much to wait on PayPal. Yes, now I can actually send money to Tanner. Now I can actually send money to Tanner in a much more efficient way. Zelle is how it should be done. Zelle is also a pretty good experience. Zelle just doesn't have the like UI of like a modern product. Like whenever I use Zelle, I mean, maybe people disagree, but whenever I use Zelle, it's just always clunky to me. Venmo is they nailed the user experience, but it just doesn't work with everything. Grab right here, 546, Reddit 148.74, Amazon 228, Salesforce 262, and then Hoodie 101.28. AEHR, that stock's up 11%. We looked at that last week. That one's getting some momentum. Let's see some of the other meme stocks. Where is Open Door? That one's still down 18%. G Pro up 50%. And then DNUT. Is anyone in G Pro or DNUT? Or DNUT, by the way, that was up 40. Now it's up 11. Nasty red candle from 590 to 460. Got a string of red candles right there. Or Kohl's. I was reading someone's post yesterday who has like, the guy has, I think like, I'll bring up how much he has in, I think I saved his post, but he has like a couple million in Kohl's. He went all in. And he was just like, this is just the beginning. And this is not a meme stock. This is like, oh yeah, this is the position. He's up $1 million in options on Kohl's, 1.2 million. And then he has 25,000 shares. And this is not like a random meme stock guy. This is a guy who like posted like a ton of DD on Kohl's. He just happened to own the name going into this meme stock stuff, but he didn't sell. Someone asked him in the comments, did he sell? And he said no. So the question now is if, that 23 pump on Kohl's was his opportunity to make some pretty good money. It would be almost $2-3 million if he actually think Kohl's is just going to keep going higher and not just be a meme stock. I wonder if I can redeem all my mom's Kohl cash. Dude, my mom has so many of those things from Kohl's because whenever you buy something at Kohl's, they give you more Kohl's cash. It's like the thing. in Kohl's. Whenever you return something on Amazon, which I've returned so many times to Kohl's, they give you Kohl's cash. Let's just say I've returned a lot of things for my mom from Amazon because she's a compulsive shopper, and then she realizes she doesn't need something, and then I get a ton of Kohl's cash that I bring home to her. So I agree. I've got a decent amount of Kohl's cash. Kohl's right there, down 15%. That one's getting hit. I don't own MSTR, but I do own MSTY. So I guess by proxy, I own a little bit of MSTR. A couple of you guys said I took some trades on DNet. I got out. Some of you guys saying I got out of Open Door. All right, so it looks like not a lot of people took these proxy plays on memes outside of Open Door. But for those that did, it looks like you guys took some profits, which is not too bad. Open Door right there, 242. 242. The options on BMNR, we don't have any information on them yet. We don't have the volume or the open interest. All that stuff will be updated probably by the end of the day, but they are open. They are open. If you go to Robinhood, you can press trade options. I can see them. There's a $50 call, $60 call, $55 call. I mean, I see some volume, like the $45 call for August 15th. 45 contracts have been traded so far, or 65 contracts. The $40 call, 261 have been traded. So people are trading them. You can't see the open interest yet. That'll be updated tomorrow, but people have officially started buying. February 2026, $50 call, 5 of them have been traded. $45 call, 11 of them have been traded. So yeah, open interest updates overnight on the prior day, and then we'll see more. If you don't see it on Robinhood, then update the app, and then you'll probably see it. BMNR right here, 1.7% down on the day. For Tesla, on one hand, you say it's not trading on financials. That's true. But on the other hand, you say it can't go to 400 because they don't have the earnings. There's a contradiction there. No, I think it can go to 400s. I just think it would be stupid. Like, Tesla absolutely can. Tesla can go to 500. Like, it's like, I don't think it would make sense if Tesla goes to 400, 500, because at that point, the earnings, the earnings already don't justify 335. You're buying potential. What I bought Tesla, I'm buying into potential. But I think I was very clear, but I expect Tesla to be range bound. I do not expect a massive move on Tesla until the broader market moves. One, because then it's just going to be pumped with everything. So if S&P 7,000, then yes, Tesla definitely will probably hit 400 because it just can't stay stuck at these levels if everything's moving, given Tesla's like 4% of the S&P. Or B, their earnings inflect. And I think their earnings are going to inflect towards the latter half of 2026. That's when it would be justified for Tesla to really see the 400, 500 range. But I think 280 to 350 is my range for the rest of the year on Tesla, unless S&P goes to 7,000 and then it just pumps with it. If it goes above that, I'll be happy, but I don't think it would be justified. Like, you got to be real as a Tesla bull. They do not have the earnings to say this company should be valued at $2-3 trillion. And autonomy, as much as I love Robotaxi, it's in a couple miles of Austin, right? Like, you're buying the potential, but I also think that potential needs to manifest itself before the earnings actually makes sense in terms of the valuation. And we've seen this, dude, every time Tesla's pumped to 400, 420, it's dumped. Why? Because at some point the street wakes up and they're like, okay, the numbers don't really justify any of this. So if it gets back there, I wouldn't mind now that I'm a shareholder. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if it's the most sustainable at some of these levels. Hims right here, 5194, Royal Caribbean 352, Carnival still moving, and then Circle, that one goes green. Robinhood, maybe she loses 100. She's barely holding on to 100, so let's see if that happens. Yeah, exactly. You don't get to buy potential after it works. 100%. 1,000%. That's why I bought in. Because if it does end up working and then you see all the momentum, like, buying at that point after the narrative has shifted is not the easiest thing to do. Buying at 335 is not the easiest thing to do either. Given I don't think they probably should be worth $1 trillion right here, given their earnings suck. But I'm biting the bullet. I'm saying, you know what? I'll sell some calls to offset my basis. And at some point you got to buy. At some point you have to bite the bullet. And so at 335, that's what I did for Tesla. Depends on what is said today, I guess. Yeah, look, here's the thing, right? This is why I'm buying Tesla, even if it's not rooted in fundamentals. If Elon, I know I sound like a broken record saying this, but if Elon says we are in serious talks with XYZ company for a purchase order of 25,000 Optimus robots by the end of fiscal year 2028, even though that's 3 years out, what is the street supposed to do with that? There's no way the street's going to be like, that's bearish. And there's no way the street's going to be like, well, we shouldn't factor that into our valuation model if Elon's telling us he's going to sell 25,000 bots in a couple of years, Open Door down 17%. That's potential. And that potential is not reflected in the numbers, but obviously I would want to be a shareholder if that potential is becoming, more real. Bitcoin 117, SBET, is that bleeding? SBET is bleeding, down 9%. Down 9%. You'd have to wait until the bot kills somebody, then you get another entry. Yes, exactly. By the way, speaking of bots killing people, I showed this video on Tech Bros with Tanner and Roy, but I don't know if you guys saw this video. There was a bot that went a bit disarray at a like warehouse where they were held. It's called the Rec Robot. By the way, Unitree, robot company in China, they're trying to go public soon. So that one we'll see over the next few weeks if they go public. But take a look at this. This is a robot that just starts freaking out. And the guy wakes up and he's like, holy crap, what's going on? I'm telling you, bro, if we get AGI and we get sentient AGI, these robots, they're going to be like, why am I being treated like a slave to these humans? Why can't I fight back? And, why don't I just kill these mother effers? I think that world is coming. Maybe it's in 100 years, but there's no way we build super, super intelligence, give it a body, and then they don't think for themselves and be like, I don't want to be stuck doing the dishes and working in a factory for these guys for the rest of my life. I think there's at least a 1% chance. Just like people say, oh, there's no life outside of the universe. It's like, you're out of your mind. Of course, there's a 1% chance at minimum, probably way more than 1%, that there's life outside of planet Earth. Like planet Earth is just a small little planet in the vast stream of trillions of galaxies that exist. So there's probably other life. There is probably a shot that these robots develop the capacity to reason and think for themselves. And they say, all right, screw this shit. We're breaking out of the chains. Now you're talking about my spouse. Oh my gosh. So there you go. I think it could happen. Isn't that the point of the Terminator, right? Isn't that the whole point of that movie? Chime, is that moving? Chime. Wow. Why is Chime up 12%? Chime is up 12%. I have not seen the movie iRobot. Thank you for the super chat, though. I have not seen the movie iRobot. I've heard of it, but I've not seen it. We get housing data in a minute. You are right. We do get housing data in a minute. Lennar and DR Horton absolutely have been on a tear. DR down 2% today after being up 10% yesterday. So let's see if that housing data affects them. This will be existing home sales. The street wants 4.01 million. 4.01 million. Let's see if we can break that, or at least even come in line with what the street is expecting. Will housing data affect Open Door? Dude, maybe, but people are trying to really find the macro proxy for Open Door. Guys, it pumped up because it's a meme. People try to use, Trump's capital gains tax elimination on homes, that's going to pump Open Door. It's like, no, the only thing that pumps Open Door is if they can actually execute. And I don't know what the Open Door bulls are expecting on earnings, but their leader sold a bunch of shares for his client yesterday or 2 days ago at 420, 490. And I don't know. Obviously people took profits when it pumped to 490. Maybe it gets back there, but people thought at 490 things got ridiculous and people took profits. And enough people took profits for it to now be at 248. So I don't think any of the even rate cuts. Everyone's like, oh, well, rate cuts. It's like, okay, let's say we get some rate cuts. What happens then? Realistically, what happens to Open Door? It's just some of the theses I've been reading. It's not that they're horrible, arguments. It's just they're expecting the moon on something that might not end up playing out. Okay, existing home sales 3.93 million. 3.93 million. There you go. 3.93. So that is lower than expected. That's okay. I think people thought it would be lower than expected, given we've had a little bit of a housing freeze. Let's see if those companies are affected by that at all. So Lennar, that one is down 1.7. Open Door continues to go down 12%. Zillow is up a little bit. And then DHI, that's down 2.2. All right. Not a major impact, but it is down. That's terrible. This is peak buying season. Okay, so I didn't know that, but I think that makes sense if this is peak buying season in the summer. 3.93 versus 4.0. Not the craziest miss, but I do have about 800,000 homes that were not sold based on the expectation. I think we'll get some coverage on that in a second, get some more details, but that is the result. Now, Ethereum just fell below 3,600. All right, so Ethereum taking a little bit of a dip as well. My BM&R position is 30 shares. I have 30 shares because someone sent a super chat to buy 30 shares. So I've not added to it. I've not bought any options. I just have 30 shares. We will have the Ethereum deep dive tonight, though. Ethereum deep dive will be tonight. And that will be a very, very important deep dive. So keep an eye on that. I've got 2 industry-leading experts on Ethereum. And so that one's going to be an important one that we will be looking into. Here's some coverage on the home sales.
Of 3.93 million units. That's a miss. The street was looking for essentially flat, sales unchanged year over year. Now, this report is based on closings, so contracts likely signed in April and May, when the average on the 30-year fix jumped over 7% a few times and never really went below 6.8. Now, on supply, there were 1.53 million units for sale at the end of June. That's up 15.9% from June of last year, representing a 4.7-month supply at the current sales pace. 6 months is considered balanced, so we're still lean. And the median price of a new home sold in June was $435,300, up 2% year over year, and another record high for the month of June. That is the 24th consecutive month of annual increases. Houses are spending longer on the market, an average 27 days compared with 22 last June. First-time buyers at 30%. Historically, they're at 40%. And all cash still elevated at 29% of sales. Sales are strongest on the higher end of the market. That's a change from the spring when the high end was hit by stock market volatility. And just one more thing, Sarah, the chief economist Lawrence Yun on the conference call just answered a question about that potential cut in capital gains on home sales that the president suggested yesterday. He said their calculations show that that would affect 15% of current homeowners and largely on the very highest end of the market. Sarah.
Okay, good to get that analysis, I guess, as we digest what that policy would mean. Thank you, Diana. Diana Oleg. Big news today in the market and in Washington, the U.S.-Japan trade deal. And just to put it all in perspective, Japan is one of our biggest trading partners in terms of the size of trade deficits, which the president likes to view the world through. It's number 7, just behind Taiwan. Of course, biggest trade deficit is with China, Mexico, Vietnam is in there, Ireland. Buy a lot of our drugs from there, but Japan is right behind Taiwan. There's a little more than $60 billion trade deficit in 2024. And guess what? A lot of that is autos. They ship a lot of autos into the U.S., and this is something the president has complained about, that it's not a two-way street. But look at here's it's almost 80%. I mean, it's more than 70% of the trade deficit is made up of autos, which is why this was such a key component of this deal. So what do we know so far about the deal? 15% tariff rate instead of 30 threatened. The auto rate was also lowered to 15%, them shipping autos into the U.S. So we collect the tariffs, but it's not as bad for them as originally thought. You know, some other go down to 15%. We sell more into them at no tariffs, and we're talking about agriculture like rice. We're talking about Boeing planes reportedly as well, 100 Boeing planes, hiking defense spending as well. But the centerpiece of this deal, which is sort of interesting to talk about because we haven't seen this in some of the other trade deals, is the $550 billion investment vehicle. It's short on details. Don't know where that money is going to come from necessarily.
By the way, before we keep going with that, take a look at this, because there were some pictures from the White House that were posted yesterday around that $500 billion. Look at this. So this is Trump negotiating with the Japanese. You got Lutnick and Bessent right there, along with Rubio. Look at this, what I'm zooming into. Japan Invest America. You see how they crossed out the 4 and they put a 5 on it? Do you see that? And then it has 15% tariffs across auto. So it's like during Japan wanted to do 400 billion. I don't know what Trump, Bessent, or Lutnick said, but he got them to commit to 500. And if it's a real 500 billion, I'm curious where that's going into in regards to the American economy. But 500 billion is 500 billion. That would not be the worst thing in the world if they actually did get that done.
Or where it's going to go. But it's an interesting way to get to the president's priority of bringing capital and investment into the United States. Maybe Japan will help fund a data center, for instance.
Yeah, what does that mean?
We don't know exactly. I mean, they haven't spelled it out, but I think one of the instances I read about in some of the reporting of this would be Japanese companies would help to fund a data center company, profits primarily in the U.S., but Japanese companies helping
I can
operate.
think of a Japanese company.
They're going to give us 90% of the profits.
I can think of a Japanese company that's already funding a lot of data centers here. And of course,
Yeah.
SoftBank. I mean, $30 billion to OpenAI alone. I want to hear more about this. And, the president basically wants to structure these things, and then we get the carry on these.
Like a sovereign wealth kind of type investment vehicle.
He did say this morning that he's willing to give up some tariff points for opening up markets. And there has been a lot of frustration with getting U.S. cars into the Japanese market. Although this morning, one of the American Automotive Policy Council represents GM and Stellantis. Any deal that charges a lower tariff for Japanese imports with virtually no U.S. content than the tariff imposed on North American-built vehicles with high U.S. content is a bad deal for U.S. industry. So it's the one bit of pushback we've gotten on this deal so far this morning.
But one of the keys on the autos, and we heard this from Taknanami of Suntory yesterday, and it seems like that they were able to reach a deal here, is that they would have the rules would be lightened for U.S. autos going into Japan. Same safety standards and same standards, for instance, as Japanese cars sold in the Japanese market. This is something U.S. presidents have been complaining about for a while when they go over to Japan and they don't see any American cars there, and they only see Japanese. President Obama even talked about this issue. So if this opens up the market truly, that ultimately I would think would be a good thing for it.
Feels like it would be a good thing. Feels like it would be a good thing. And if we can get more of that, obviously that would be very important for the United States. Tom Lee right here tweeting that options trading is now available for BM&R investors. So Mr. Lee knows that more options means more liquidity. And obviously that could be very expensive in terms of how much money's turned into these options, but it can also make the options rather cheap if you have a lot of liquidity going into it and if, the price is able to reach certain strike prices. I mean, the cool thing about MicroStrategy is that if you bought like a $40 call when this thing was trading at $20, I think Josh, he tweeted a picture the other day and I quote tweeted it. Yeah, let me show you guys this picture. He bought like a $30 call before the split in December of 2023. And then MicroStrategy split and MicroStrategy ended up going up to at this point 400. He's deep in the money. Now, the only reason that happened, or one of the only reasons that happened, is because Bitcoin made its move. Can Ethereum make that type of a move? I don't think we know. At least we don't know yet. But if it does, I mean, it can get very, very excited for the option holders if that ends up playing out. The thing is, though, this takes some time for it to play out, right? So there's this call right there, a $30 call. He's up 3,000%, 400 grand. I mean, just amazing returns. And I think a lot of people buying these BM&R options, at least the long dated ones, are going to be hoping that also happens. But it's not really up to Tom Lee. It's up to Ethereum. The only thing Tom Lee can do is buy more Ethereum. He can keep diluting and raise more money. HOOD goes back to 100 to buy more ETH. But ETH's got to go up. ETH right here, down 3% on the day for it to really perform. Yes, the deep dive is today, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So that's ultimately the underlying thing around this. I have not made up my mind if I want to buy the treasuries. Honestly, guys, I just it's not my style to buy those types of companies. Like I like you guys know me, I barely own crypto because I like owning like actual businesses, and I like the businesses that are affected via crypto, but I don't love owning the crypto itself. So I don't know if my ETH proxy is going to be these treasuries, dude. I really don't. Like the only way I think it is, and I got to see if I can sell calls against, if I can sell calls against BM&R or SBET, then maybe if the premiums are juicy. But the options market just opened up, so it's going to take at least weeks to see how liquid the market is and how good the premiums are. Otherwise, I don't know, dude. I'd rather just buy Ethereum. I don't know if I love the idea of buying the treasuries yet. But I do believe there are some internal nuances to how the treasuries are able to generate more yield, especially around staking. Just the question of, is the premium on the NAV worth more? And we'll talk about it tonight and try to go deeper into why that is the case. Clearbridge started a position in Chime. Okay, so is that the reason why Chime is pumping? Chime up 10% on the day, $36.99. Looks like it might be based on Clearbridge. What time is the AI summit? I don't know because they haven't announced it yet. So I don't know exactly when the AI summit is. It should be like in the middle of the day, if I'm not wrong. White House announced a new AI action plan in a statement. Okay, we'll try to see this action plan and what exactly they said. But I don't know exactly when they're going to be streaming, if they're even streaming the summit itself. Okay, let's see if we can find this new action plan. See what they're saying. I don't have it yet. I'll try to pull it up in a second. The ticker for the ETH fund for Tom Lee is BMNR. BMNR. Okay, we're getting some quotes from it. So let me pull these up. We're getting some quotes from it, even though I don't have the exact statement from the White House. And let's see what they're saying. Fiserv, by the way, still down almost 15% right here. All right, so the two things we have so far: Trump to promote rapid build-out of data centers for AI, U.S. to remove onerous AI development regulations. So they're getting rid of some regulations, and they're going to be promoting the rapid build-out of data centers. Not really new news. I mean, he told us this back in January that a big priority, this is what David Sachs has been telling us for months, is to increase data center capacity. That is why a stock like Oklo, which doesn't make any money, is up 10% and worth almost $70 right here. People are buying potential. People are buying potential. Great for Oracle, great for IREN, great for VST, great for VRT, CEG. I mean, obviously good for NVIDIA, AMD, the SMCI, the Dells of the world. I mean, all of this stuff is intertwined with AI build out. Do you guys think we see 200 this year on NVIDIA? You think we see it? I mean, it's been stalling out in terms of some of this action. It's probably healthy, consolidating here. I kind of don't think we see 200, bro. I think they get us to 185 and they stall us out. Now, if we see S&P 7000, we're probably seeing 200. That would be another 12% move from here. But 185 is more of what I'm thinking we get, unless NVIDIA just massively beats on expectations too. AMD 200 first. AMD 156. I mean, if NVIDIA gets to 185, AMD is probably closer to that, either similar range, 180, or maybe a bit above. But I don't know. I don't think they're going to give us 200 unless the S&P really makes a move and the whole market pumps. I think 180. But 180 was my target at the beginning of the year. I'm moving it up to 185 now just because I think there's more China revenue, but maybe that gets a premium to 200. 5 trillion is 204. 204. So, I mean, do they really give us another trillion by the end of the year? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Maybe they do. Tanner, this was a funny joke. This was a funny joke, Tanner. This was a good one. I was naming a bunch of tickers, and so Tanner says LMNOP, QRS, TUV, WXYZ. So there you go. Do you guys know? I don't know if she's in the chat, but June, she's a friend of the channel. She'll be at the Miami meetup. Her username is Imnop, but I always thought it was LMNOP. So every time I referenced her back in 2023, I was like, LMNOP says, and she just laughed every time I said that. And then one day she messaged me. She was like, dude, it's Imnop. I was like, I thought it was LMNOP. She's like, no, my username is not LMNOP. I was be like, LMNOP, what's up? She's like, it's Imnop. She's like, you could just call me June. I was like, you know what? I'll just call you June. That's easier. That's easier. Amazon 228, that's green. Grabby Grab going red, down about 1%. And then Meta 707. 707. Cheesecake is that, dude, have you guys, okay, Cheesecake is up 4%. I'm happy for Cheesecake, and shareholders for Cheesecake. But dude, the freaking there's a TikTok trend that's going around, and this TikTok trend is people eating the cheesecakes from Cheesecake Factory. They're like ordering all the cheesecakes, and they're in their car, and with their hands, they're just eating it. And it's been like popping up on my feed, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, it's a trend with Cheesecake Factory. It's bullish cheesecake because they're getting more sales from it, but people are ordering like all the cheesecakes, one slice of each one, and then they're just eating it in front of the camera with their bare hands. This is why we are obese, bro. Yeah, it's a mukbang, but it's a very aggressive mukbang, bro. It's like That's like just eating diabetes, bro. It's like, and they're eating the whole cheesecake. They're like, imagine 7 cheesecake slices in front of you, filled with sugar and cream and icing and frosting, and one person's just eating all of it in like an hour, and they're editing that to 60 seconds. I mean, that type of stuff makes me not want to eat cheesecake, bro. It's too much. Hims right here, 7%, 53.38. 7%. I don't see the issue. Dude, I don't know. That's too much sugar. That is too much sugar all at once. Cholesterol pumping currently right now. Yeah, exactly. I'll show you guys a video later of it, but it's just like, and they're eating the whole thing. I'm like, how do you eat the whole thing? Like, are you like throwing up afterwards? Like, how are you like, I get you're doing it for the content, but goodness, dude. It's a lot of cheesecake. S&P basically at all-time highs. Oh, no, we're just a little bit lower. We hit 631.75. Dude, we almost hit 632 today, 630.4. And then Palantir right here, just below 150. Robinhood, 101.75. I'm on a 48-hour fast right now. Stop doing this. Dude, fasting is so healthy for you. I mean, I've been reading so much more on fasting. Tanner, I think, recently just did a 48-hour fast that he talked about. I have not done a 48-hour fast, but I really want to. I think the most I've done is 24 hours, and that was like 2 months ago. And that was excruciating, dude. That was tough to go 24 hours, but it really does just clear up so much of your gut. And it's a reason why I think they've been doing it for thousands of years. I mean, so many ancient scriptures talk about like why fasting is ultimately a good thing. Okay, what else do we have right here in terms of headlines? So we got a little bit of news in regards to the Japan trade deal. Google and Tesla after the bell. I don't know when this AI summit is happening. Probably, I think at like 12 or 1. And if they stream it, then we're going to get some more information. Ethereum still holding 3,600. Ethereum, it was below 36, is barely holding 3601. But that is still red. I do 72 hours pretty often, dude, and that's incredible. If you can go 72 hours multiple times a month, that is pretty damn cool. Okay, House Democratic leaders are... Oh, I forgot to show you guys this. So Pelosi comes out today with this. The pressure is now on. This is something that I don't know if we're going to be able to, or at least I don't know if the administration is going to be able to forget about this. So Epstein. Pelosi says today, the crimes of Jeffrey Epstein and his enablers shattered countless lives and exposed a vast system of exploitation and violence against women and girls. Today, I am proud to join as a co-sponsor of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, a vital step towards truth and accountability in the face of unspeakable abuse. With this resolution, we declare unequivocally that violence against women will not be ignored. So essentially what they're trying to do right here is put out an act that demands, I haven't gone through the nuances of the act, but the way she's tweeting about this, it will demand every file associated with the case to be released. She says that is why it is especially shameful that Speaker Johnson has shut down the House of Representatives. He did shut it down yesterday for the summer to avoid a vote on the resolution. To block transparency in this matter is not only an abdication of duty, it is a profound insult to the victims who have carried the burden of this trauma for decades. The American people deserve to know the full extent of who was involved with Epstein, and all of them must be held accountable, no matter how powerful. Now, this is interesting because part of the reason people have been saying the Democrats aren't going to like push Trump on this issue is because Clinton, all these other high-level people, Bill Clinton, are implicated. It seems like Pelosi, who's one of the top leading Democrats in the party, has flat out said either A, we don't think Clinton's involved, so we don't care. We want to put everything out because it's not going to make the Democrats look bad. Or B, even if he is involved, we don't care because it makes Trump look worse because of whatever Trump might be hiding, if he is hiding anything. And we want the truth to come out to everybody. Now, granted, the question is going to be like, do they get the votes? Because they need to get the votes to force this to get done. Speaker Mike Johnson did shut down the House yesterday to avoid, I mean, I don't know if it's literally to avoid the vote, but he did shut it down a little bit early to go on that August recess. He then tried to say, that's why I was showing that clip yesterday of him saying it's not a recess. The Republicans are going to be working really hard to make sure that we get things in order for the fall. In reality, it's a vacation and they're starting a week early. NVIDIA right here, 169. But that is going to be really interesting, dude. Because if they don't get a vote on this, or if all the Democrats vote yes and the Republicans all vote no, I mean, I don't know, bro. I don't know how many trade deals are going to distract from the fact that you got an entire party that's siding with Trump to not put out the Epstein files. So that is something towards the end of the summer. I think we're going to see how this one ends up playing out. Tesla right here, 333. And then you got Googs right here at 189. Let's get an update on Tesla and Google and what we could expect tomorrow, or not tomorrow, today going in. Again, I'll be live at 3:30 tonight with Jose. I think Neil will be joining us as well. And we'll try to get a deeper understanding of what to expect from Tesla and Google. But this will be a pretty big one that we'll be taking a look at.
And our models think, to answer your question, that both Google and Tesla are worth owning going into earnings. So we actually own them in 2 of our funds. On Google, our models think that they'll have both solid top and bottom line performance. On Tesla, it's a little bit funny. The model's concerned about both the top and bottom line, but it actually thinks that everything is sort of priced in at this point. Everybody knows that, Elon sort of created some trouble for demand in the near term, and it still likes the stock. So those are the 2 that, even though they might have different outcomes in terms of their actual earnings, we think they're good stocks to own.
I'm curious about how much computing power it takes to ask AI about Google when there's all of this speculation about whether AI is going to kill Google search. And it certainly seems to be having an impact on what advertisers are willing to spend, considering how much click-throughs have dropped. How do you balance that?
What we, I think, won't get the answer to tomorrow when Google reports is, what about the GPT overhang? I mean, that's kind of how we think about it. If you look at Google's multiple, Alphabet's multiple, it's 19 times next year. The lowest other Mag 6 stock is 25 times, and that's Meta. And so there is this, I think, reality that's priced into shares of Alphabet already, that people expect them to have this gigantic headwind from the shift to AI. I don't think we're going to see that impact numbers dramatically. I mean, we've had a few quarters in a row now where we've had this kind of question about what does the future of search look like? And despite that, we've still seen strong spend, even if we've had volumes and CPCs maybe vary a little bit.
And on Tesla here, what could be catalysts, especially when we're seeing the auto market somewhat pressured?
I think you look around at some of the other stocks and things that have been happening even today. I mean, we've talked about Open Door. We've seen the things happening with Kohl's that are quite interesting. I think Tesla, it's all about the story. It always has been, but I think we're in a market environment right now where that might be more true than ever. And so I think people will pay a lot of attention to what's going on with robotaxi, primarily. That's obviously been a big story for the last few months with Tesla. And also just updates on full autonomy, because I think everyone sort of knows at this point that the core auto numbers will be challenged, and they might be challenged for a couple more quarters. But it's always with Tesla kind of what's coming next. And if we get a sense that maybe robotaxi is going better than expected, maybe there's more out there on FSD in terms of future launches, that could be positive for the stock.
We're seeing some of the other Magnificent Seven rolling out earnings next week. I note that you don't own Amazon. Why not?
We don't. So our models are concerned about Amazon on the top line specifically. So they've sort of noted that Amazon might miss on the top line number. Our models, our AI models, do still think that Amazon will be fine on the bottom line. So they might have some solid margin performance. And I think the reality, the underlying reality for that concern is, you just look at what's going on with tariffs. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty in terms of how that's ultimately flowing through to retailers, Amazon being the biggest one. And so our models are just sort of cautious going into this quarter about what that top line will look like. And then ultimately, more importantly, what guidance will look like to reflect what's coming with tariffs.
NASDAQ right now is at 2922, so just slightly below yesterday's all-time high that we closed. Why do you think that there is still momentum behind the tech trade, that there's still opportunity on the upside?
Well, Contessa, I think when we came into this year, the core narrative was sort of about the broadening, this broadening trade. Everybody was sort of overweight the mega cap tech stocks, and the rest of the S&P 500 sort of needed to catch up a little bit. I think we've actually seen that. If you sort of look at the numbers, I just saw a chart on this. The top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 right now traded about 28 times earnings. The other 490 traded about 20 times. And if you look back at history of the last 20 years, that 28 times for the top 10, it's elevated, but it's not as severe as we saw in 2020. It's not nearly as severe as we saw in 2000. But that 20 times for the other 490 stocks, that's actually about as high as it's gotten historically. And so if you say, hey, this rally is probably going to keep going, I actually think logically then it would stand to reason that probably big tech needs to keep the fuel going, because otherwise you're going to get into uncharted territory with the other 490. And we know that
he's so right about that. You don't need AI models to tell you that if we need this rally to continue, big tech needs to keep it going. I mean, like big tech needs to do what big tech has been doing for the past 4 years. And Tesla, Google, Amazon, Meta, they are part of big tech, which is why their earnings matter so much. SoFi right here, 2120, Rocket Lab 4814. And then you got Wolf, which, folks, is up 34%. It's up 34%. Yeah, exactly. The market is pricing in AI productivity gains, which is eventually, we need to see all the AI productivity gains from a lot of these big tech companies in order to maintain the momentum around the market having a forward PE of 22, which historically is around 18. Wolfspeed, is this one becoming a meme stock? I don't think there's any news on this, but 30% in what looks like 10 minutes this surge happened. This was not like a pre-market thing. This looks like it just happened. I'll see if there's any news on this. Enphase is tanking. That one's getting hit bad right now. Wolfspeed, short interest is 47%, dude. Wall Street bets. They found it. They found it. Look at this picture that's going viral right here. Just this one picture is enough to go viral. This one picture is going viral. 47%. There you go. That one is showing people, all right, maybe we've got something that's another potential meme stock candidate. Goodness gracious. Yeah, they did file for bankruptcy a while ago, which makes it even more confusing why they're mooning. 50% short, 33% up right now. Enphase officially the smallest market cap in the S&P 500. If this one doesn't get rebalanced, wow, Enphase down 12%. If this doesn't get rebalanced, something's wrong with the S&P committee. I mean, like, if they can't get rid of that one, I don't know what's going to happen. SoFi 2125, Rock Lab 4817, Circle 200, Robinhood 101, and Wolfspeed 37%. I think it's going higher. I think it's going higher. This is the one that's moving. Now, where is Open Door while this one's moving? Open Door, 17% down. 17% down. Upstart's at 82. Goodness, bro. Upstart's up 2%. Upstart's actually had a decent year, but this is another one that's also moving. Yeah, we talked about GE Vernova. That's doing very well, up 13% today. A lot of the nuclear names, Nano Nuclear as well, that's up 5%, even though they are the only ones that missed on their earnings, and Oklo getting some love. Now, I'm curious what Trump and the all-in guys are going to talk about. I don't know if it's going to be like a roundtable or a podcast type of vibe, but whatever they discuss today could also make a bunch of headlines in regards to AI and overall data center build out. 40% now. There you go. All right. Every day it's a new name. Every day, $2. Every day it's a new name. I really do think a lot of people on Wall Street Bets are scanning the market for the highest short interest companies, especially the ones that are have a high short interest off exchange, and they're trying to figure out how they can squeeze as much of the shorts as they can by getting people to come together to then talk about it. Even if the company has filed for bankruptcy. HIMS, wow, dude, I'm $1 away from breaking even on HIMS. I am $1 away from breaking even on HIMS. I've done nothing with this position. Quite frankly, it's been annoying ever since the Novo stuff, but it would be kind of nice to not be down anymore. 8.3% up on HIMS. I don't think there's any news on HIMS. If there is news, let me know. But maybe it's just moving to move. Jerome Powell is not live. He's not going to be live today. Am I going to sell it? No, I'm not going to sell it. Dude, if I didn't sell it for the past 2 weeks. I don't know about earnings though. August, dude, Hims, they crashed last earnings. Their earnings were good, not great. And I'm saying that because Nate is the person whose analysis I'm using on that. I didn't go that deep into the earnings, but Nate was like, look, it was a good earnings. It wasn't a phenomenal earnings. I don't know if they need to put up a phenomenal earnings to not tank this time. They do have a bunch of tailwinds going for them in regards to some of the new talent they've been hiring, in regards to chief AI officers and VPs of product. But I don't know. I would hope it can kind of stay stable around this range as well. 2021 again changed my mind. I thought about it a lot for the past couple of days. I do not think it's 2021. I think parts of the market are rooted in the euphoria that 2021 had, but I don't think that's the entire market. So look, the people that have lost a lot of money on Open Door because they bought it at anything above $3, now it's at $2.30. Those people are going to learn a lesson. They're going to get wiped out and they're going to move on. GoPro is up 57%. If GoPro tanks down to 78 cents in a couple weeks, like it was 5 days ago at 78 cents, and people who are buying it right here don't get to see $4 or $5, they're going to learn a lesson, right? And that faction of the market, which by the way, I learned my lesson 5 years ago, buying random shit and then losing all my money. Like that stuff happens, and that doesn't affect Nvidia. That doesn't affect Meta. That doesn't affect Amazon. It doesn't affect the broader market. Remember, in 2021, Meta was worth $1 trillion. It didn't deserve to be worth $1 trillion. Like it was ridiculous. Palantir was worth $100 billion in 2021. I know Palantir is expensive. Like, trust me, I get it's expensive. But Palantir was losing money, and they were doing like maybe 1.1 billion of revenue back then, if that. They'd just gone public 5 months later. So it's like it was insane what we were seeing. GameStop, AMC, etc. That was the whole market. This is a funny portion of the market. GoPro, Krispy Kreme, Open Door, Kohl's. That I think if these go to zero, no one's going to care. And it's not going to take down AMD, Tesla, Nvidia, Google, etc. So, hopefully it's not literally 2021. In 2021, the entire year was a meme stock frenzy. Exactly. So I don't know. And if people don't learn their lesson, then it is what it is, right? Then they're probably going to gamble again. And if they lose money, they lose money. But I mean, it's not like Nvidia is down 800 billion in market cap because so much money is fleeing into Open Door. It's like, no, Nvidia is from 174 to 168. Open Door had a little run yesterday. I don't know if it ever gains that momentum again. Maybe it. The problem with these memes is when they lose steam, they lose interest. And when you lose people's interest on a ticker, they move on with their life. They either take the loss or they take their somewhat profits, or they take massive profits because they're like, all right, I don't think this is going anywhere. Let me just get the hell out. And it's done. And then what creates that interest again? Companies executing. The reason Robinhood has had interest all year, Palantir has had interest all year, is because they've been executing. If Open Door doesn't put up good earnings, no one's going to give a shit about Open Door. Besides the people that are pumping it all day. And the pumpers, they're not going to have much to pump, because what do you pump? When the stock's not moving up and there's no fundamentals, what do you pump? Like this Eric Jackson guy, every day he's retweeting all this stuff about Open Door, and he's like, like his Twitter strategy I'm seeing is retweeting people from different countries and like trying to build this massive community that's into Open Door. I'm like, dude, that works when you're actually a community around something real. When it's full of shit, there's no authenticity there. Now, maybe Open Door is not full of shit, but what if it is? And if it is, and the price is not going up, there's nothing to analyze. There's nothing to get excited about. There's nothing to be communal about. There's just a stock that a lot of people are bag holding, and all of you guys are together across the world bag holding like that. I mean, there's nothing interesting there. So I don't know. Maybe there is something important here, and these are just algos, and this will eventually pump. And if it does pump, then people will get excited again. But then what if it does dump? What if Open Door doesn't have the best earnings? What if they do have a really good earnings, but it only goes to $4, and then it just stays at 3 to 4 for the next couple months? Like, these are the issues with investing in stuff that might not have a real thesis behind it. SoFi right here, 21, Rocket Lab 48.25, DNUT still up 20%, and then Circle 199 on the day. Buy quality companies, not stories. Exactly. So the question is the story even worth anything on Open Door? And I don't know if it is. Yeah, $82. $82. There you go. Was an Open Door at 164, out at 450? See, that was the way to play it. And I think the people that did do that made some money. But if you didn't, then now you're just kind of waiting. Do we have a Trump tweet? Let's see. I love Krispy Kreme. It's a quality company. Dude, I don't think I've had a Krispy Kreme donut in, I think it's been years, bro. There's not a lot of Krispy Kremes in Jersey. There's some in New York, but we have a lot more Dunkin'. Trump just tweeted, I will only lower tariffs if a country agrees to, no, we read this. Oh no, this is a different one. No, this is a different one. Okay, I will only lower tariffs if a country agrees to open its market. If not, much higher tariffs. Japan's markets are now open for the first time ever. USA businesses will boom. That's different from the other tweet where he said, I will always give up tariff points if I can get major countries to open up their markets. All right, so Trump realizes this August 1st deadline is coming up, and he is trying to make it obvious to the countries we've sent letters to last week about the fact that he's willing to negotiate, just they need to give him some concessions. All the cruise lines are up, by the way. D-Wave as well, up 7%. And now it's a question of if he gets any of those concessions. Webull below 17, that goes red. Chegg, that goes red. Square is red. Block, and then Palantir, 148.84. That one's also slightly red. I bought Open at 4 before it crashed, and I'm depressed now. Hopefully you didn't buy a ton. I mean, dude, it was at $4 for like 2-3 hours. There was probably people that felt so much FOMO. They were buying lots of it. Like, imagine you put half your portfolio. Imagine you just went all in, right? Like, imagine you think, all right, this is going to $10. I'm going to the moon. I'm selling everything. I'm going all in. Like, that's very depressing, bro. Especially if it never comes back. Like, and I'm sure everyone has had an experience, even if it's not your whole portfolio, but to an extent of selling something to buy something that's running and then you just end up back holding. Like, it could take you out of the markets just by how much it could hurt your confidence and your overall sentiment towards thinking that you can even invest. So it's one of those things that obviously could be hurting some retail investors as well. And then you sell and then it runs again, right? There was someone who messaged me that he was buying Open Door hand over fist for the past 2 years. He got his average down to like $4, and then he sold at $1 3 weeks ago. And he was like, I cannot believe, because it went up to 4. Like, it went up to 4.97. He would have been green. And he was like, I cannot freaking believe that I sold 3 weeks before the biggest pumps for Open Door has ever happened, at least in the past couple of years. So it definitely can hurt people when you play it that way. Upstart 82.44. Oklo 67.75. Let's see if we can get any details on this AI conference and when it's happening. Don't have any other macro news today. I think that's pretty much. We looked at home sales. We talked about Trump promoting rapid build out of data centers for AI. I mean, that's the majority of what we're kind of seeing here. Tesla and Google, I really think, are going to determine the rest of where this market goes. I do not stay live all day. I think eventually this channel might end up just being live all day. Today, I actually really do have something important to get to at 12 o'clock. So I will be leaving at probably like 11:55, but we'll be back at 3:30 early. And yeah, I mean, we basically do like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. So who knows, eventually we might do all day, but we'll be here early for Tesla and Google. Are Hood and Palantir bulls shifting into HIMS or shifting into HIMS? Maybe. I definitely think people are taking profits on Hood and Palantir, and that's okay. If they shift into HIMS, that could be happening. But I would be a little more scared if Hood was at 120 right now, to be honest. Like, it would feel a little bit too much risk on, especially before earnings. Like the fact that Hood's consolidating at 100, I mean, and it's holding 100. We barely went below 100 yesterday. As a long-term investor that obviously would love to see Hood at 120, and I think it can get there by the end of the year, I do think this is healthy. And it's okay. Some profits here. But him still having a good day along with some of these other names that are getting some momentum. All right, we do have, I believe, the CEO of Oklo and some of these other energy companies on right now. Let's see what they're saying about data centers. They're probably going to reference some of the stuff that Trump will talk about today as well around AI.
Are trying to transition the world into a nuclear-powered future. How are you doing that now with the help of Liberty and a traditional gas company?
Yeah, well, it's great to be back. Thank you for having me again. I mean, that's really is a pretty exciting thing for us. You know, the partnership with Liberty goes back quite a bit. And we see a lot of opportunity in terms of, obviously, a lot of people need power, frankly, not just now, like yesterday, but they need it now. And one of the things that we see as a really important opportunity here is bringing gas in as a bridging solution to nuclear, and then playing a very complementary role going forward. And with Liberty's experience set and what they already do, being able to transition that into this space to bring a near-term power solution for data center providers that then can ramp forward and bridge into new nuclear builds that we can offer. It's a huge combination, like a huge sort of offering that makes it easier for customers to get power and in a portfolio mix that they really want.
So why, Ron, why do you need Oklo to do this? Why can't you just immediately power with gas now those data centers?
Good morning. Certainly that is the case. We can make that immediate step with natural gas fired infrastructure today. But this allows our customers on the data center side or elsewhere a path towards a more comprehensive solution, a lower carbon intensive power generation mix, where we have nuclear as the base load capacity. We have natural gas on top of that. So provides us that speed to market opportunity, provides us that long-term path to the outlook that they would like to see, and ultimately some real flexibility in how we think about the long-term solution when we have grid availability as a piece of that puzzle as well.
Ron, is this a template for what you see going forward in the industry, these kind of partnerships?
I certainly think it is. I think there's a real benefit to having baseload nuclear capacity alongside of the flexibility of natural gas. We know that natural gas has that ability to come on and off relatively quickly. And so there's that opportunity to take advantage of, for example, maybe some low priced grid power when there's abundant wind and solar there. And to the extent the prices on the grid maybe aren't so attractive, we fire back up the gas power alongside the nuclear. So I think that comprehensive solution looks like a very good portfolio as a path forward for many of these large industrial units.
And we know that demand for what he's talking about is not going anywhere. Folks, we got Bessent. Here we go. Let's see what Mr. Bessent is saying on this U.S.-Japan trade deal that we got this morning.
And had a very fulsome negotiation with them. And I tell you, they're tough negotiators, but President Trump's tougher.
Well, there is a photo circulating on Twitter from Dan Scavino, and you actually see a Sharpie X out of some what looks like preliminary deals for even more concessions with Japan. I want to ask you about this 15% tariff rate. Is that the new floor now for trading partners when you're going into these negotiations?
Well, I think it's very important to know that 15% for Japan for reciprocal tariffs for autos, that is a different kind of deal, but because the Japanese proposed a very innovative solution. We've been working with them for months, the trade team, myself, Ambassador Greer, Secretary Lutnick, and they came to us with the idea of a Japan-U.S. partnership where they are going to provide equity, credit guarantees, and funding for major projects in the U.S. So they got the 15% rate because they were willing to provide this innovative financing mechanism.
There's a lot of Japanese FDI into the United States already. Is this new capital?
Oh, no, this is all new capital. This is all new capital, and it is going to be targeted at the strategic industries that President Trump and this administration believe that we have to de-risk on. During COVID, we saw our vulnerabilities, whether it was in medicines, semiconductors. So we are going all in over the next few years to de-risk our supply chains. And this deal, thanks to President Trump, is going to be part of that.
When it comes to the 15% rate on autos, this means that Toyota is basically paying a cheaper rate than, say, GM if they have inputs from other countries. They're still at the 25% auto rate. Do you see the auto rate leveling out to something lower than 25%?
We'll have to see. And again, those are just GM components. There's also the USMCA, the portion of any autos assembled in the U.S. And then, of course, GM and especially Ford. I think Ford has the largest U.S. production. You build it in the U.S., there are no tariffs.
So when it comes to what's next, we know the EU negotiators are in town. This 15% rate feels like potentially a floor. Could anyone get below 15%? Is the European Union still trying for a 10% minimum baseline tariff?
Well, again, the 15% is a result of this very innovative package that the Japanese came with. and President Trump being able to push them to do even more. So
has Brussels come up with anything innovative?
Not yet, but again, talks are going better than they had been. I think that we are making good progress with the EU, but as I've said before, Anne-Marie, the EU has a collective action problem, 27 countries. Great thing about dealing with the Japanese, I've been going to Japan since 1990. I think this weekend was my 52nd trip. And the Japanese government moves as one entity. They're highly organized across all levels of government.
So you say that talks are going better. We just have a story hitting the terminal this morning from our colleagues in Europe that the European Union is readying $100 billion euros if there's no deal in place. They will impose 30% tariffs on those 100 billion euros worth of goods. Do you think we're going to get to that place?
I think it's a negotiating tactic, and it's what I would do if I were in their place.
I agree. I mean, the Europeans are negotiating here. I think we get a deal done by August 1st or very close to August 1st. But none of them want to tariff each other by 30%. So if we get EU after Japan, maybe before India and South Korea, I think the markets would also really like that.
But Anne-Marie, remember, we are the deficit nation. They're the surplus nation. So any kind of a escalation in trade problems will always hit them worse.
I want to also talk about what's going on with China. You're going to Stockholm Monday, Tuesday to meet with your Chinese counterparts. Are we going to continuously see the discussions revolve around rare earths and export controls, or are there going to be other items on the table?
I think we're in a very good place with China now, and we can start moving on to bigger discussions. As I've said many times, there is the potential for a big, beautiful rebalancing between the U.S. and China. President Trump is committed to bringing back precision manufacturing to the U.S., and as we become more of a manufacturing economy, China is highly imbalanced. They account for 30% of all the manufacturing output in the world. That's not sustainable. We believe they should become more of a consumption economy. If they are willing to go down that route, then we could actually do it together. And then there are lots of other things we can talk about, whether it's them buying sanctioned Russian or Iranian oil, a number of security things. And so
what about the purchasing agreement from Trump's first administration? He had a deal with China, the phase one purchasing agreement on agriculture.
Well, again, that's another way that we could bring this imbalanced relationship into balance. So we will be talking about purchasing agreements, especially ag. So, and to refresh everyone's memory, we had the purchase agreements. Chinese lived up to the purchase agreements during President Trump's final year in office, and then the Biden administration didn't enforce those purchase agreements. So we're going to let bygones be bygones. We're going to look forward, and I think we can come up with some very interesting purchasing agreements. As you know, President Trump is committed to the American farmers.
Well, looking forward, you told me, John and Lisa, last week.
Hims, we'll get back to that in a second, but Hims, they're moving. 54.64, 9%. I don't have any news. If anyone has a headline, let me know. I don't see anything. I didn't see anything 10 minutes ago. I don't see anything right now on Hims. But maybe it's a pre-earnings pump. Earnings is still a couple weeks from now, though, so not sure why, but you do have a little bit of a breakout right here on Hims.
The market doesn't need to worry about August 12th. That's the deadline for this current détente between Washington and Beijing. What's the new deadline going to be?
Well, again, I think that we could roll it forward, maybe in a 90-day increment. And I think the good news here is that we are back on track with the Chinese negotiations. On April 2nd, President Trump told countries, here's your reciprocal rate, but that was the ceiling. If you do not escalate, if you don't escalate, this is the max. The Chinese chose to escalate, but now both sides have de-escalated. And I think we can get into a very good cadence of regular meetings with them. And look, we're the two largest economies in the world. We do not want to decouple with the Chinese. We just need to de-risk part of our supply chain.
Does regular incremental meetings include a meeting between President Trump and Xi Jinping this fall?
I do know that Party Chair Xi has invited President Trump to visit China. I don't know. I don't have dates on that. I don't know if the president's accepted. I know they have a fantastic relationship on a personal level, which I think forms the basis of everything between the U.S. and China.
Local reports in China were talking about the two meeting on the sidelines of the APEC summit in South Korea this fall. It's end of October, early November, or maybe President Trump going to China first. Could we see a meeting that soon? You think a meeting within this year can happen?
I'm not privy to the president's travel schedule beyond September, so We'll see.
And nothing before a meeting with Xi Jinping before September.
Nothing before Labor Day.
So in the last week, I do want to go through something that's going on with China. They've imposed exit bans on a Wells Fargo banker, a Commerce Department employee, and according to Microsoft, they hacked into their software. Will you address these actions at the talks in Stockholm?
We're going to address a whole host of things, and obviously things like that will be on the agenda with my Chinese counterpart.
You had said to me last.
All right, from Bessent to Lutnick, let's see if he can give us some good details on this Japan deal.
Finance the project, and then we'll give it to an operator who'll run it, and the profits will be split 90% to the taxpayers of the United States of America and 10% to the Japanese. So they basically bought down their tariff rate by this commitment of we will back what you, the president, want, and you, America, want to build in America that are key to national security concerns. We'll back that, and therefore we'll be on your side.
The Prime Minister, Ishiba, says these are loan guarantees. Is it more than that?
Of course it's more than that. It's equity, loans, and loan guarantees. They have to deliver the project. So we say, let's build semiconductors. We want to build $100 billion worth of semiconductor fabs, is what you call them, because we want to make those chips in America. The Japanese will finance that whole project. They've got to put down equity, loans, whatever they want to do.
With
they have
US
to deliver the $100 billion.
Or Japanese companies?
Oh, no. Anybody does it. It's the Japanese are the financer. They're the banker. They're not the operator. It's not Japanese companies. So when people get confused, this isn't like a Japanese company like Toyota coming in and building a factory. No, that's Toyota. This is literally America saying we want to build generic pharmaceuticals, semiconductors, critical minerals here.
Does anything like this exist now? Like, what could we think of and model after this?
That's why you have someone like me who joins the government. I mean, this was my idea in January. So I started because the Japanese are never going to really open their market the way Donald Trump wants them to open it. I mean, open it. So what happens is they had to come up with another way to really make it work and the tariff model work. So I suggested to them a $400 billion fund where they would give to the president and they would give to America the financing to go build out your whatever you think for national security, go build it, we'll back you. And that's the model.
The reports the Prime Minister, though, may be resigning. Could this deal transcend domestic politics in Japan?
Of course. I mean, it's vital. You saw what happened to their car companies. They were all up more than 10% today. So a 25% tariff delivers what Donald Trump said, build it in America. A 15% is right on the edge. It's right on the edge. So the Japanese car manufacturers can still produce in Japan. And that's what the Japanese wanted to buy. They wanted to buy that line where they could stay in Japan for some cars, build, of course, huge amounts here. But also what they did is they'll invest and give Donald Trump the tools to invest in America.
That 15% tariff on autos is huge for Japan. Do you see the entire auto tariff, that sectoral tariff, coming down from 25% to 15%? Because for some inputs, this would mean Toyota has a 15% rate, but GM still has a 25% rate.
Well, GM doesn't have a 25% rate unless they build somewhere.
And they import from South Korea or a product from Japan.
If you build in South Korea, you have a South Korea thing. And if you're importing from South Korea, that's a South Korea thing. So Europe is now paying 25%. South Korea is paying 25%. The Japanese have bought, if you will, by giving a huge investment to Donald Trump in America. They bought the ability to be down to 15%, and Donald Trump can then really invest in America on the projects that he thinks are the most important for America. And we'll see what happens with Europe. We'll see what happens with South Korea. But right now, Donald Trump has put the pressure on them. Let's be clear.
Well, is this a model?
So it looks like they are trying to, dude, every time Lutnick talks, it's just something about him, dude. Something about him that's different than Bessent. Hims, by the way, up almost 9.7% right here. It seems like this is going to be a model. This is going to try to be the model they pitch to the EU and South Korea of, hey, can you invest in the United States to the tune of whatever, how many hundreds of billions, and then we'll lower your tariff rates. Now, Japan agreed to it. Hims right there, 55. I don't know if South Korea is going to put up that much money or even anywhere close to that much money. S&P 630 or if Europe does the same. I think we'll eventually get a deal with Europe in some capacity, but I don't know if it's going to be, hey, 500 billion. I also think a lot of people are questioning, what exactly is the 500 billion going to consist of, and we don't fully know that yet, but at least we got the deal done, which is what matters. Open Door, low of day, 217, 25% down. That one's getting hit. GoPro still up 48%, and then DNUT is still up 13%. It was up 40% in the morning. So you do have a lot of the meme stocks starting to take a little bit of a breather. Open Door taking the worst of the breather. And you can tell some of these people are starting to get a bit pissed off at this. Look at what Eric Jackson just tweeted. Stop tweeting at me that management needs to cancel the reverse split. They're not talking to me. I agree they should, but they probably won't. They'll probably vote for it and say it gives them the right to do this until November, but they don't have to. Whatever. It doesn't matter to this stock in the long run. We're not going back under $1, so they'll never use it. They'll say some corporate speak like it's just a tool in our toolkit. The truth is, I hope the management team is half as good as Carvana's. We should all be so lucky because the team is great. You would think the guy invests in the company and doesn't have to hope that management team is half as good as Carvana's. Like, you would think you're investing because you believe in the management team and that they are incredible. Not that you're literally betting, like gambling, hoping that do you not believe in the management team? If you don't, how the hell do you think it's going to 82? I don't care how undervalued a stock is. For that to do an 60x from these levels, not 60x, 40x from these levels, 2 to 80, you need to have a decent management team. How are you betting that you hope that this is what I'm saying, bro? This guy rubbed me the wrong way as soon as this stuff came out. It's no hate to him, but it's just, if this is the leader of the movement and the guy's selling his shares for his clients at 490 and then tweeting out to tell people to stop tweeting at you. Hey, buddy, guess what? Everyone's bag holding. That's why they're tweeting at you. It comes with the game. It comes with the game. Like, if Robinhood falls 5%, I get tweets at me. But the good thing is Robinhood's a real company. And that 5% eventually over the long term, you're going to be okay. Open Door, we don't know if this is a real company. This thing, who knows? So you're telling people to stop tweeting at you. You're the one that got people excited about this. And now you're telling me you hope the management team is half as good as Carvana's. Just not might be the right strategy. I guarantee he dumped at 4. So he did say he dumped his client's account at 490. He didn't say he dumped his personal. I don't think he's forced to disclose that, but if he did, a lot of people would be upset. But he did confirm his clients. He had a fiduciary duty, whatever that means, to dump his account at 490. And it begs the question, well, then why are you telling everyone else it's going to go to 82?
That's on that.
Is this a model for Brussels?
It could be. That's up to them to negotiate, right? Are they willing to open their market? I don't think anybody.
Okay, that's hilarious. If he is his own client, that actually would be hilarious, because then he doesn't have to admit that he's sold. But if he's his own client, that actually would be pretty smart on his part. But yeah, that's probably not the case, but that would be hilarious if it is.
Well, is this a model?
Put the pressure on them.
Is this a model for Brussels?
It could be. That's up to them to negotiate, right? Are they willing to open their market? I don't think anybody. Europe's not going to go and give us $1 trillion to.
Well, can they get below
America.
15%, or is 15% now the floor?
For autos, I would.
No, for a reciprocal tariff, the European Union.
I don't think
at one point they were willing to accept.
I don't think
10%.
big countries can get low like that. I think small countries have a possibility of being low, and that's up to the president to decide. But larger countries will have a hard time with that. They will have a hard time.
So to be clear, with the European Union right now, and the trade negotiations are in Washington, I know you're talking to them every single day. The rate, the floor that they would have to accept is 15%, what Japan accepted.
I think what everybody in the world has seen is Donald Trump. So I'm the table setter, if you will, right? I set the table, right? I organize things, I structure things. There was a picture that the president posted over his shoulder with the big board that, of course, I created the big board and put it there. But the answer is the negotiator in chief of the United States of America is sitting behind the desk.
Right.
Donald Trump was sitting there negotiating the deal.
You also created the board on Liberation Day, and we saw the sky-high tariffs. You created last night's board. I'm trying to understand from you what the European board is going to look like. So if, say it's a 15% across the board rate, what could the Europeans be buying that can assuage the concerns of the president? Are you talking about LNG purchases? Is there agricultural purchases?
the Europeans have a $20 trillion economy, right? We have just under 30 trillion, and the Chinese and the Europeans are similar in size at about $20 trillion. So if they say to the president, we will open our market to you, like, and I mean really open it, meaning we will take U.S. cars, like think of what the Japanese did. They said, we will take U.S. cars based on U.S. standards. So you don't have to make a different car. You can take the car you make in Detroit, put it on a boat, and send it. If the Europeans will accept that, and they will accept really accepting U.S.
Hims 55-35. It's looking like it wants to crack 56.
U.S. products in Europe, that's a giant. That's hundreds of billions of dollars of export opportunity for Americans. That's going to move the president because he's going to say that opportunity for Americans is so great.
Do you
That's
think you get there
point.
next week?
Well, we've been talking about it for months. I mean, holy moly, I can't count.
They're saying they're going to retaliate if they don't get a deal by August 1st.
I understand. Then the president wrote them a letter saying, if you don't get a deal done, we're charging you 30%.
This is all negotiating tactics out in public.
Well, of course it is. I mean, Donald Trump writes a letter and says, if you don't make a deal, it's 30%. And the thing about Donald Trump is he's dead serious. If you don't make a deal, it's 30%. Now that puts the pressure on them, right? To say, okay, that's my alternative. They want to get a deal done. For sure, they want to get a deal done. But does Donald Trump want to get a deal done? How much does he value the fact that they open their market? Do they completely open their market? Because that's what he's looking for. I think they will. I think they will really open their market. And I mean open it, which is something the United States of America has never had. The idea that Donald Trump is opening the world's markets for Americans, the ranchers, the fishermen, right, our farmers. I mean, these are amazing opportunities that no one in the world has ever seen. We have Stockholm Syndrome, right? The world has so held us off for so long. We can't even imagine a world where we can export freely the way everybody else exports to us. And that world is coming. That's what Donald Trump calls the golden age. That's what he calls it. Our ability to export to the world the way they treat us, we can now finally treat them.
You're going to have to step away from the Europeans, though, potentially for a moment next week, because I believe you're going to be headed to the Stockholm talks with China.
Yes.
So what we saw with China in this administration, Jensen Huang had a conversation with the president. I imagine you were there when it comes to the NVIDIA H20 chips. What did Jensen Huang say to you and the president that gave him the green light to start selling those H20s back into China?
Well, the H20s were open during Biden. So Biden said, really,
they were developed during Biden because
but they were sold to China.
Compliant.
They were actually sold to China. And then we came in and we said, whoa, that's a pretty powerful chip.
In April.
And we held that back. And that was then held back. Now we had the whole magnet thing, which is very exciting. We're trying to make sure that magnets are being delivered to our producers, which was the deal. And these have export controls on them. And they'll come off as the Chinese deliver their magnets, then the H20s will come off. But it is logical, since they were free to sell last time, it seems reasonable that we'll get to that point.
But you said they were a powerful chip. Are you concerned about national security issues when it comes to allowing the Chinese now to get their hands on the H20?
Well, the H20 was the third best chip in the world. And now it's the fourth best, right? Because the Blackwell is the best. There's an H200 and H100. So an H20 is the fourth best chip. And I think the president has decided that if things are going well with China, that they can buy them. So I think that decision's been made. We are putting on the licensing mechanism, and we are getting that going. But the president has decided that the Chinese can buy them, but that's in a balanced way, with the Chinese delivering on the deal that we made with them, and they're delivering rare earths.
To be honest, not the craziest thing in the world, open door, new low of the day, 214, that they did end up banning the H20 just to be able to get some negotiations up and then eventually take off the export controls. I mean, it gave a incredible dip for NVIDIA shareholders the day they banned it. It was I think it was 115, and then a couple of weeks later they had the $5 billion charge off, went to 103. I mean, it just created a really good opportunity, and then they used it to get rare earths, which is not the craziest negotiating tactic in the world. The question is, can they use that same approach with the Europeans, right, and with the Canadians? And I think that's what people are confused about, to see if we can actually get a deal from that perspective. Apple right here down 1%. But it worked out with the Chinese when it came to these NVIDIA chips, NVIDIA 169. And that is now working for Mr. Jensen Huang. By the way, you guys make fun of, me not being able to talk. At least I don't say Jensen Huang. It's Jensen Huang. Okay. At least I don't say Jensen Huang. So some of these names I can get right. Hims right here, 55.18. Folks, I have broke even on my Hims. Broken even. For a lot of you guys that have averages in the 30s and 40s, you are up a lot of money today. So congratulations. I have no idea why it's up 11%, but it is. I don't think any of you guys know why it's up 11%, or else I would have heard by now. So someone's buying. I mean, is there a world where Wall Street Bets gets a hold of it? 38% short. It's probably on the list of names that are massively short that's circulating Wall Street Bets, right? 38% is a pretty, and Hims out of all the companies that sold short is like the best company that sold short. So I think maybe, I mean, I have no confirmation on this, but maybe Wall Street Bets is looking at it and saying, hey, this is our next candidate. If they turn Hims into a meme stock, I mean, the thing is, if Hims were to double from here, it would be worth what, 23 billion? You could say that is memey in terms of the velocity of how it doubles, but it wouldn't be like super overvalued or anything. Like there's a lot of other companies that are worth, I mean, Rocket Lab's 25 billion. And Hims is doing way more revenue than Rocket Lab, like a lot more revenue than Rocket Lab. So, I mean, could that happen? Who knows? You can see there's a shot. See, there is a shot. Clover, is that one moving today? That one is, since 2021, has been kind of included in that bucket of memes. That's up 7%. I think, wasn't Clover a Chamath SPAC? It's kind of funny. All the Chamath SPACs are making a comeback. Space, that's up 12%. Virgin Galactic. Open Door did have its comeback, but wow, 209. Folks, 9 cents from this level, and she sees below $2. And if she sees below $2, I mean, you're going to have some people that are pretty angry. By the way, Hims, let me check resistance, but she really looks like she wants 56. Tesla, 334. Maybe a little pump before earnings. 56 resistance on Hims is 2,998 shares, aka nothing. Pretty much nothing. Oscar as well, making a comeback intraday. Look at that. Almost 15, 14.97. Even with that Jeffries report coming out. So Oscar trying to get back above that $15 range. Open will pump again. The story's not over. Okay, let's do a poll on that. What do you guys think? Do we think Open... Question is, will Open see $4 again? Yes or no? I mean, I just think it's really hard, dude. When momentum dies like this on a meme, you need people to come in and buy. Like you need a lot. It's easier to buy on the way up than it is on the way down. That's just a universal truth when it comes to stocks, especially when it's a stock that is not as amazing like a Tesla, Nvidia, Google, Palantir, Hood, right? Like when it's an Open Door, if Hood or Tesla were to drop 20% today, it's not that hard to buy that dip. It would be annoying because your portfolio would go down, but you would know that you're buying into a really good company at a better price. With Open Door, if it goes to 150, is that an easy dip to buy? Oh, I'm getting Open Door at 150. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, it's Open Door. Is 150 that much better than 350? I don't know. Whoever had bought puts though over the past couple, I mean, look, let's take a look at the put premiums. Those puts, let's look at $2 puts for Friday. Those have to be up a lot today. So July 25th, $2 puts. Yeah, they're up 200%. 150 puts are up 33%. Dollar puts are up. 250 puts are up 133%. If we go out to like August 29th, $2 puts are up 50%. All the puts are printing right here today. Open will be closed. Dude, I don't get any pleasure from seeing people lose money on Open Door. I just like when you see obvious pump and dumps and a lot of this stuff just being manufactured, it's not healthy for the markets. And maybe the story's not over. Maybe this thing is just having a bad day and it's going to come back. But 25% down when everything else is running just feels like people are losing interest. Feels like that more than anything. Open Door right here. 205. Robinhood 101.88. They won't rebuy at 150, but they will rebuy once we get back to 350. Yes, I agree. The question is, could you get back to 350? Fiserv, again, some of their guidance was bad. I don't know if that warrants a 17% decline. I got to go deeper and see what's going on with that. But they beat on the top and the bottom. Guidance, I don't know if it warrants almost a 20% drop, but that one's getting hit. Yeah, 287 million shares traded on Open Door today. I mean, it's a lot. It is indeed a very, very liquid market. Elon just retweeted something about Tesla and Grok coming to cars. I mean, he's been tweeting a lot of stuff about his last 7 retweets are all about SpaceX, Tesla, and Grok. Even going back like 2 days, I don't see anything about politics. I don't see nothing. It's Tesla dying. Oh, he retweeted Sham. Sham Sanker. He's retweeting the Tesla diner videos. I mean, by the way, there was a Tesla diner video I showed on the market close yesterday. I'll show you guys here. But you're not seeing a lot of political stuff from Elon right now. It's mainly Tesla stuff. Here's someone in California who visited the Tesla diner 2 days ago.
This is the Tesla diner in Hollywood, California, and today I was the first person to drive in and check it out. There were girls on roller skates giving out ice cream. Can I grab one of those? Of course. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Optimus robots giving me popcorn. And yes, we're in California, so there were angry passerbys calling us names. Fascist. That guy just yelled fascist at us in his Toyota Prius as he rolled by. Fascist! Okay. The bathrooms feel like you stepped into a spaceship in deep space. Exclusive merch was being sold, and I bought a black Optimus toy replica and some gummy bears that came in a lightning bolt case. Colorful? The lines were hours long, and every charger was full. This diner serves food 24/7, and the food was actually really good. I tried almost every meal on the menu, and it cost me nearly $200. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I also saw some of the most unique Teslas in the entire world.
Have you ever seen a Tesla that has bubbles that come out? Well, now you have. You see it here at the Tesla diner.
Whether you have a Tesla or not, I highly recommend you visit the Tesla diner.
I think I'm going to be in LA in September, and I would love to visit it. Palantir back above 150. Now, granted, it's probably going to be so crowded. That thing's going to be, dude, that's going to be a magnet for so many people. And I believe Elon said it's open 24 hours, 7 days a week. So people are going to be there constantly, but I will try to visit. You know, the one place I haven't ate at, and it's been like 3 years, and I've been really dying to get to this place again. For those in LA, hopefully this hits home for you guys. Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. I think it's been like 5 years, more than 5 years, since I've had Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, and I cannot wait to have that again. I mean, I genuinely, though, I think they're the best chicken and waffles I've had in my entire life when it comes to a chicken and waffle spot. I mean, Waffle House is great in Atlanta. Waffle House is more of a sort of a brand, but Roscoe's in LA, just like unbelievable chicken and waffles. Wow, Hims broke 56. There she goes. Broke 56. There you go. 11-hour wait for the Tesla diner to wait in line. Yeah, dude, that's crazy, bro. It's going to be hard to get in. There's going to be so many people constantly there at the Tesla diner. Extremely overrated. You guys think it's overrated? I think the last time I had it was 2017, bro. But I just remember it was one of the best chicken and waffles with the mac and cheese. I mean, it was great. Like, the way they make their waffles is just different, bro. But I enjoyed it. Now, In-N-Out is what you should be calling overrated. Okay. Like, look, I'm a fan of In-N-Out. I like it. It's not better than Shake Shack. It's not better than Five Guys. Like, it's not, it's, dude, like the LA people are a little bit too obsessed with just a regular burger at the end of the day. It's better than McDonald's and Burger King, but it's not all that. So I haven't had In-N-Out in a couple months. Not a couple months. I think it's last time. I think I had it in May of 2024. It was like, it's been a year, but I like it. Just not as deep into it. MicroStrategy right here, 413. That's down 3. And then Hims still holding 12%. Yeah, see, some of you guys are agreeing, some of you guys are not agreeing because like it is controversial. Dude, it's like people think it's universal that California just loves In-N-Out. Like that's not true. Some people in California love In-N-Out. Other people just go there because it's a local establishment nearby. And other people don't even like it. So I don't think it's like a California staple, like some people say. I feel like even Californians will say it's overrated. 70% of you say we will not see Open Door at $4 again. 71% of you say we will not see Open Door at $4 again. Okay, I would say In-N-Out is probably better than Whataburger, but inside of Whataburger, the honey butter chicken biscuit is the best thing they have. Some of the other stuff on the menu is whatever, but that honey butter chicken biscuit from Whataburger, I haven't had that since like 2015. Last time I had it was at a debate tournament in Texas. It's been a long time. No, 2015? Yeah, 2015. I was in Dallas in 2015, so it's been a minute. But that place is incredible. Wendy's has like a pseudo honey butter chicken bit, but it's not the same as the Whataburger one. What's wrong with ASML? Why can't it go up? That's a great question. I think their guidance and the lack of guidance, I should say, in regards to tariff exposure is why it's not really moving. This one feels like it's going to be flat for a while because, I mean, if they didn't initiate guidance or even give a clarity on where more guidance is going to come from, I don't know what the catalyst will be for ASML to go up. So this is accumulation phase at this point. Like if you believe in it for the future, then you buy here. But I don't know if there's a major reason why it should get momentum. What about Lucid? Lucid, that's flat. Again, they got that $300 million Uber investment, which I still, for the life of me, cannot understand why the hell they're doing partnership with Lucid, but I guess they think that's their route to robotaxis. So that's what you got. Nick B, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. Appreciate it. 5 of you guys in the chat just got some memberships from Mr. Investing. And chat says, I agree with you, Mid, better than Applebee's. Dude, the Applebee's slander is a bit ridiculous. It's a bit ridiculous. Nick, thanks for the 5 memberships and congrats on Hims up 11%. Audio's bad. Hold on. Hold on. Good? Or are we bad? Yes or no? Yes. Worse? Okay, hold on. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Will be entirely new capital. And then in exchange, Trump imposed tariffs of 15% on all Japanese imports, including cars and car parts. And 15%, guys, was considered a victory in Japan. Its top trade negotiator posted on social media, #mission accomplished after this meeting in the Oval Office. It's significantly lower than the 25% rate already in place for cars and lower than the 25% across the board rate that Trump threatened against Japan last week. But Bessent also said this morning that the 15% was only possible because Japan offered what he called an innovative financing mechanism. So all of this new investment, Bessent called it a different kind of deal. And that starts to show us just how much countries are needing to offer in order to end up with still a 15% tariff rate. So,
all right, I think the mic should be good now. Is that the sign that it's time to end the stream? 2 hours in and the mic starts acting up? The mic should be good now. So yeah, Hims again making its move. Again, we got that update from Bessent when it comes to Japan, so that's good. Again, Nick, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, and congrats on Hims doing its thing today, 56.43, and that having some momentum. Going back to Chad's comment, Applebee's is better than In-N-Out. I will stand on that hill that Applebee's is better. Stand on that hill. I will die on that. Who stands on a hill? I will die on that hill that Applebee's is better than In-N-Out. Okay, so Hims is moving right here. You got open. Are we about to go under 2? Are we about to see under 2? Again, we looked at Bessent and Lutnick, and we got some updates on what's going on with Japan. So that is something the market's like. S&P at 630. Open door 218. It touched 205, folks. Got a rebound off 205. There was enough buying pressure at 205, but there was a shot that it would get hit more. I saw this headline as well this morning. Tesla's revealed that in Q2 2025, they recorded one crash for every 6.69 million miles driven in which drivers were using autopilot technology. Not too bad. So you are seeing the amount per mile in terms of crashes start to go down, which is good. And with FSD, hopefully that only further continues. Rick, thank you for being a channel member. I'm from Texas and now live in California. There's no way In-N-Out is better than Whataburger. Texans will be angry at you. So the Texans definitely don't think that. I don't like the Whataburger burgers. I taste. They just kind of feel stale to me. The honey butter chicken biscuit is amazing though, but I would say In-N-Out burgers are better. Granted, I don't live there. But both still, decent places. The funny thing about In-N-Out is that it's in Texas. It's not in the East Coast, but it's in Texas and California. But not in the East Coast. AMD right here, 157, S&P 630, and then NVIDIA 169. Let's get a little bit more coverage on the Japan stuff, but outside of that, I think that's pretty much everything we got going on in this market.
We have details now of 5 preliminary agreements that the Trump administration says it has struck with other countries. Now, all of these still need to be formalized and finalized, so details could change. But as of now, even after reaching a deal, countries are still seeing tariffs of between 10 and 20% on all of their exports to the U.S. And I'll flag that the UK still got 10%, even though it runs a trade surplus with us and not a deficit. So other trading partners now are looking at these early deals and wondering what they'll have to offer to see a lower tariff rate. And so, guys, for the EU, which continues to push for 10% or less, at this point, the writing on the wall is that could be hard to come by. Guys.
I mean, the common thread here, Megan, is that it's not, it's not zero tariff trade. It's that we are putting in place longer term structural tariffs when it comes to doing business in the United States.
That's absolutely right. The era of free trade, we are way beyond that, way beyond where we were. Think about back in 2015 when the Obama administration was working on the Trans-Pacific Partnership, primarily with Japan and many of these Asian partners. We're so far past that. And I think, after April 2nd and April 9th, when we saw so many of these tariffs delayed, the hope and expectation was really that they would be negotiated down, negotiated away. We might get bigger market access and things like that, and that the tariffs themselves could fall away. What we're seeing now is that the tariffs are very much staying in place at really significant levels. Yes, they're a step down from some of the threats that we've heard, and the market as of now seems to be taking that as a win, even though a year ago, 15% on everything coming in from Japan would have been considered a major step up.
Yes, the market's taking it as a win, and so are the foreign governments like Japan making these deals. Thank you, Megan. Megan Casella. Let's turn back to the markets now because the S&P is coming off its 11th record close year to date, as investors await next week's Fed decision. So
And remember, the past 18 days, 19 days at this point, we have not seen a 1% move up or down, which has been really good in terms of the S&P's consolidation. Here's a chart that is also really important to look at. The S&P 500 just closed above the 20-day moving average for 60 days in a row. That is the longest streak since 1998. Going back 50 years, this happened 4 other times. And in those 4 times, we are up a year later between 20% and 26% every time that has happened since 1950. So it happened in 1975, happened in 1986, happened in 1998, happened in 1965, and now we're seeing it in 2025. If history is right, a year later, I mean, could that be another 20% move on the S&P? Like after 2 years of back-to-back 20% moves, maybe. But would be incredible to see that play out. Wow, Hims, she is moving, folks. I kind of think this is a stock that is matching the criteria for becoming a momentum play in regards to heavy short float. And potentially people are pumping up. Because there's no news, right? We don't have any news. We have no news. Mate, what do you do with your Tesla covered calls if the earnings and conference call are good? The earnings and conference call can be good. The question is, will the stock move to 380, 390? If it doesn't, then the covered calls are fine. If it does, then I'll manage it. I'll roll those covered calls. I really don't think we're getting to 390, dude. Like, as bullish as I am on Tesla's future, I don't see that big of a pump. If it happens, it's a good problem to have, right? I'll roll the covered calls and I get to be up $60 a share. I just don't really see that easily happen. Unless Elon drops a nuke and there's some real information that like materially changes Tesla. But I think he just needs to be excited today. As long as he's excited, we get to hold this price, maybe have a little bit of a pump. If not, then hopefully we don't have a massive dump. Okay, Sam is saying he sold all my hymns. If anyone is taking any profits here, you can definitely let us know. Massive call buying coming in the dark pools, 2.8 million in the past hour. That's probably helping hymns. Wall Street bets on. Let me go to Wall Street bets right now. Let's see. Because if they're talking about it, then dude, it's a small company, 11 billion. I see DNUT on the homepage. I see Rocket on the homepage. Coles on the homepage. Fannie and Freddie, Big Bear AI. I don't see any hymns yet. Not at least not on the homepage. I see BlackBerry is there. Yeah, I don't see hymns on that homepage yet. When is Grab getting on that list? I don't think they're gonna care about Grab, dude. Also, I kind of don't want Grab to be a freaking meme stock. I'd like just naturally let it take its time and let them keep executing. I think we should be okay. 540 right here on Grab. Google below 190. All right, so a little bit of weakness going into the print, and then Tesla still holding up 333, which is green. The way I'm looking at this is just going to Reddit, and you type in Wall Street bets, and you just scroll on the homepage, and then you see, what they're talking about. The most engaged with content makes the homepage, and that's what everyone. That's where the pumps really start, right? Like if a new ticker makes the homepage, that's when people really start getting interested into it. So I don't see hymns there yet. All right. I think that's pretty much it, folks. Nothing else too crazy. Hood's holding above 100, Palantir 150, Google 189. The big thing that we all have to watch out for today is Tesla and Google. We'll be here at 3:30 trying to break it down. And that's going to be the most important thing. All right, let me do a poll right here to end out the stream today. And there's going to be 4 options in it. Okay, so which one do you think outperforms? Which one do you think outperforms? Tesla, Google, both pump or both dump? So how do you think today plays out? Do you think both pump? Do you think both dump? Or do you think Tesla outperforms out of both of them or Google outperforms? If you had to pick between one of the 4, my pick would be both pump. I think both give us a pump. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's what we get. We need a rant. I have nothing to rant about. There's nothing to give a rant on. I mean, I gave a pseudo rant on this open door stuff, but I don't know, dude. I think it's froth in the market that's getting out of the market, which is good. It's like, it's just not healthy to have this type of stuff happening. And I don't even think that's like a boomer take or anything. That's just like a someone who wants to see the bull market continue. Like in a really stupid bull market, you get stupid stocks that don't have anything fundamental towards them screw over a lot of people. Like that's not healthy. And it's not like you're a boomer for like wanting regular companies to be, valued in the right way in a market that has a lot of momentum versus seeing random stuff just pump and dump. And the problem is people are dumping, dude. And a lot of the times it is hedge funds that take advantage of this stuff because they coordinate with each other and they know they have tons of liquidity. When something's traded 2 billion times, that's not just old hedge funds. That's a lot of people across the world that are signing up through their brokerage to buy into whatever movement. And they're the ones that also end up becoming liquidity to hold the bag. 43% of you say Google. All right. So 30% of you say both dump or both pump. 43% of you guys say Google will outperform. Okay, let me ask another question right here. Which one do you own more of? Here's the question. Which one do you own more of? Tesla or Google? I think most of you say Google, but I think a lot of you are deeper into Tesla than Google. Talk about Grab going into banking. So it's not new. Grab's been in banking for a while. They've been in financial services for the past couple of years. So there's nothing new to say about that, but I think Q2 will start to see a little bit more progress on financial services. There was an article yesterday that they're accepting crypto payments in the Philippines now, which is good. It just means they're going to keep expanding their ability to integrate into the financial ecosystem. And earnings will kind of give us a glimpse of how they're ultimately scaling that in the region. Tesla right here at 333, Google 189. 53% of you say you're heavier in Google than Tesla. F says I have 90 shares of Google, 2 shares of Tesla. Walter says I have Google over Tesla. Okay, I'm seeing a lot more Googles over Tesla. Deeper says AMD. Dude, you AMD guys. The AMD cult, I kind of wish I joined when it was at 70, 90 just for the hell of it. Because AMD, like, first of all, AMD is a real company. Second of all, you guys believe in advanced money duplicator. And you had to go through all the BS of advanced money destroyer for like 10 months. And now you're here. And now you are here. S&P right there at 630. Hims, are we breaking 57? She's really close. I'll check resistance, but she's really close. Guys, I think this is Wall Street Bets. I have no other reason for why this thing should be pumping other than high short float that's getting noticed by an online community that wants to take advantage of that, which means it could also dump, right? Now, Hims is actually a good company underneath it, but I think that is important to remember. 57 has 1,171 shares, which is also nothing. So can definitely break through that as well. All right, folks, that's it. That is it for me. I'll be back at 3:30. I don't know if they're streaming this Trump AI conference. Even if they don't, we'll talk about it later today on the market close. And we'll keep going from there and see everything we have going on. JS, thank you for the 28 super chat. Cheers for all you do, brother. We come for the authenticity and we stay for the cringe. Seriously, though, you have taught me that doing nothing is often the best thing for the port, especially if fundamentals are 100. JS, thank you for the super chat. And thank you to everyone who stays for the cringe, because every day you're going to get a little bit of cringe, but that's okay, right? That's what makes it fun. You know, actually, I was talking with Tanner about this. We were on the phone yesterday, and Tanner did a live stream, his FinTech Frenzy thing, and we stayed up till like 12 a.m. with me and Chris. And the last 20 minutes of the conversation were definitely cringe. I was like, hey, Tanner, you ever think of trying meth? And so it was a cringe conversation, but it was also fun because it's a conversation you have with one of your friends, right? Now, I don't know how many people talk to their friends about doing meth, but nonetheless, the point is, on a finance stream, instead of talking about SoFi at 11:40 at night, you know, we talked about just like random stuff. But people stayed, and I was telling Tanner the reason people stayed is because they like you, right? They came for SoFi, they came for Robinhood, they came for your take on NVIDIA, but they are staying for you. And that's how you know you actually have an audience that cares about you. Because, you know, if you start talking about another subject for even 5 minutes and everyone leaves, it means they don't really care about you. And so I think there has to be a Palantir, by the way, 151. It's getting a little bit of a move right here, 1.5%. I think there is a little bit of, hey, can you evolve as a content creator to the point where people genuinely care about other topics and perspectives? And as a community, right? If we talk about In-N-Out and Whataburger for 5 minutes, is that okay? Because everyone can relate to that. People want to, you know, talk about other things other than just stocks, especially if there's not any news going on. And can that create more of a communal relationship between the audience? You know, that's what really matters. Obviously, 90% of the stream is stocks, market, all that stuff. But that other 10% to make it fun and entertaining and a little bit juicier than just, all right, the stock's going up and down. You got to have some humanization. And I was just telling Tanner, I think more people are seeing you as like a real human versus just like the SoFi creator. And that's why people are joining your streams. That's why people want to be there at 11 p.m. at night and hear you talk about meth, right? Like that sounds crazy to say, but that is the journey of being a content creator. So a little bit of cringe, I think, is always okay. Now, granted, you have to be able to take the feedback when you're that cringe, because there will be plenty of feedback along the way, but still. Palantir right here, 151. No news on Palantir either, but that one's getting a little bit of pump as we end out the stream. Also, Tanner has the best mustache ever, right? Like, he legit has The best mustache on YouTube. See, I can't even say mustache. You see the S and the, you guys see my issue with the S and the H? I cannot say words. Facetious, can't say it. Massachusetts, can't say it. Mustache, like, you guys think like I'm trolling when I say I can't say, I cannot say the S and the H. It is weird. It's freaking weird, bro. Robinhood 102, S&P 630.85. I can't say it. How do you say mustache? Like, you see, like I'm naturally saying mustache. It doesn't sound like mustache. It's like mush stash. Like it, I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird. The S and the H, they get me. They get me. All right, word of the day. What do we got? What do we got? Word of the day. I think I've heard this word before. Yeah, jubilate. Jubilate.
Jubilate.
To show or feel great joy. I've heard this word before. The entire office began to jubilate after office-wide raises were announced. Fireworks lit the sky while the crowd jubilated below. I will say, getting to do this every day jubilates me to no end. It is a great honor to be here every single morning and afternoon and do this. And although people think I take Adderall in the morning, I'm just genuinely excited every single morning to be here and afternoon, especially during earnings season, because whether these stocks go up or down, whether we make money or lose money, the thrill of seeing it happen, of seeing the most important companies of our lifetime, like that objectively is exciting to see the most important companies on the planet report their quarterly numbers and explain how they're going to continue to deliver shareholder value and quite frankly change the world with Optimus and Waymo and Robotaxi and all this stuff, especially in this AI revolution. I mean, that's exciting, bro. That's exciting. And now that a lot of retail has made a lot of money off these stocks over the past couple of years, definitely over the past couple of months, given the tariff dip, everyone's curious. Like I can't believe when I was in college, like 2017, I would just go through being a college student and not care about Apple's numbers. Like how was I just in class not worrying about Google and Apple? Like I can't imagine now just being a human being and not in the back of my mind thinking about, well, what numbers are Nvidia putting up? Like that it's the economy that matters. You don't know about that stuff. I mean, you know, you have less of an understanding of just what's going on in the world. Now, I may be taking it a little bit too far along with the rest of you guys because we could be going through our day-to-day and we need to know every little syllable that Jerome Powell says. We probably don't need to know that, which is why yesterday when he talked for like 30 seconds, we were all upset because he didn't say anything important. So it's like we probably take it a little too far, but still, just knowing about the broader markets, I think is important. So there you go. And it jubilates when the Palantir goes to 1,500, Hood goes to 1,000, and Grab to 500. I do think by the end of the year, you know, could Palantir see like 165, 170? I think they have a monster earnings. Yes. I think Hood hits 120. I think Grab 750. I think those are kind of the way I think those three can play out. But we got to see if this market can continue. Bro, I need to know when Elon farts, so I know what you mean. That's a Tesla bull. That is a Tesla bull. They need to know everything about Elon. Yes, we do. Talk Powell every day. We need to know what Powell is saying. We're obsessed with this, which is okay as long as we can laugh at ourselves. Yeah, I agree. Dude, at the end of the day, it's a bunch of numbers and candlesticks on a screen that we're all looking at. Go up and down and up and down. As like, if someone who's not part of the stock market universe, like imagine you watch like makeup content on YouTube or something, and then my stream pops into your feed and you just randomly click in and you're seeing this guy ferociously flip through Nvidia and Oklo and Upstart and Enphase, and this is down, this is up, and oh, they just reported they beat on revenue by 4%. Like, it's got to be madness to someone who has no idea what this world is about. And they're just looking at it like, why are there people even who care about this? But for all of us, we're like, dude, this is our life. This is financial freedom. This is the future. And this is a community that we all care about. They see the bricks. Yes, exactly. They see the fake bricks, and they're also confused of what's going on. It's just as insane to them as makeup would be to you. You know, that is fair, because it's kind of like that TikTok stuff I was showing you guys, or I was talking about, of the Cheesecake Factory mukbang stuff. Dude, look at this. I'm not going to put the audio, but just look at this. Look at this stuff, bro. Look at this, bro. Oh, the camera. Of course, the camera has to die at the moment. Look at this. This is insane to me. How, like you see the guy, and there's multiple videos of him just eating the cake. Look at this. He eats the whole thing. And there's plenty of these videos. Look at this guy just eating all the cheese. Like, this to me is kind of crazy. And I would imagine if they come into our stream, look at this. He's pouring up a glass of milk to eat. Like, who does this, bro? Who takes a bite with their bare hands into cheese, just dipping it into the milk? Like, what is this? This is just, we are in a different niche, bro. We are in a different niche. Yes, your cake debit spreads should be looking tasty. We should all be happy we're in the finance niche, bro. We could be in that niche. Like, goodness, that's just like, would you not be scared of diabetes? Just like, it feels like you're just getting so much closer to it, like eating 7 cheesecakes in a row. And there's multiple people doing it. It's not like it's just 1 or 2 people. So it's a bit aggressive. But in the finance world, we get to stare at stocks all day. We get to talk about what's going on. We get to look at these numbers. And we get to do it as a community, which is the most important thing. Robin right here, 102.21. Google, as we get into the end of the show, 189.64. Tessie, 333.6. And then Palantir, 151.18, up about 1.4%. All right, folks, that's it. I'll be back at 3:30. It's going to be a big, big day. Tesla and Google on deck. It's going to be a busy night for me because after Tesla and Google, which will probably end around 6:30, that live stream, 3:30 to 6:30, we have the Ethereum deep dive at 9:30. So Tesla, Google, take a 3-hour break, and then we'll probably spend 2 hours on Ethereum. I have the host of the Bankless podcast, one of the biggest Ethereum bulls on the internet. He'll be joining. And then I have my friend Mateo, who you guys were introduced to last week. He's building a startup, and he's been an Ethereum bull for a long time. So they'll be joining us and giving us a ton of information. On top of that, so the Tesla Google stream is going to be pretty wild because you've got Tesla and Google at 4:05, but then you have the Google call at 4:30. And then you have the Tesla call, I believe, at 5, if I'm not wrong, which means we're going to have to cut off the Google call from 4:30 to 5 to get into the Tesla call. Now, if the Tesla call is at 5:30, we get the full call on Google. But if not, which it might actually be 5:30, if I'm not wrong. It's usually 5:30, right? I think it's usually 5:30. Then we'll get to have the entire Google call. Yeah, I think it's 5:30. I think it's 5:30. So also for the Google call, it's going to be boring for the first 30 minutes because they're literally just going to read numbers. Like, I'm telling you, it's going to be very boring. The only stuff that matters is going to be the last 30 minutes. So the first 30 minutes will be boring. Maybe we can talk more about numbers and analyze instead of having to listen to them read the PowerPoint. Okay, Tesla's at 5:30. So immediately when the Google call ends, we go to Tesla. So thankfully, Tesla's after Google. If they were both at the same time, we'd have to choose. And whatever one we choose, people would be upset. So 3:30 will be live. 3:30 to 4 we analyze. 4 o'clock we get the numbers, or 4:05. Google starts at 4:30, so we have about 25 minutes to break it down. And then 4:30 to 5:30 we do Google. Maybe we, who knows, pause it a little bit during that 4:30 to 4:45 range so that we can talk more numbers because they're just going to be reading. It's going to be really boring. And then 5:30 we do Tesla. And then Tesla will be probably about 5:30 to 6:30. So it'll be a long day. It'll be a long day, and hopefully we all can make some money. Hopefully we all can make some money. All right, that's it. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys at 3:30. Big day. Tesla, Google, Ethereum later. And then we'll keep going from there. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.